All right, so here we go, guys. Game number one. Sorry again for the technical issues. It's been a day of challenges with the new beta R7. At least I think that's what's causing me some issues. We've got MBL, we've got st4rk. It is game number one. The score on the scoreboard should be 0-0, and it is. These guys have just started this set out. And I think we're going to see a really, really nice set of games. st4rk has had trouble traditionally with MBL over the past 50 games. He has not had a very good win rate. But st4rk is a really strong player. He's better than the 7th seed in this tournament. He just kind of needed to play MBL for time reasons. It's KillerB. I will soon be joined by Ornlu. We've had a little bit of technical issues today in the channel, but I do appreciate everybody sticking with us. It's going to be Indians versus Spanish on Arabia in the KillerB Arabia Cup. The settings for this tournament are pretty simple. 1v1, random civs, all games. We will see basically players playing non-mirror matches almost all day. This is MBL getting some messages while the recording was being made, so don't get too distracted by that. But in the event of a re, you get a new map and a new civ, so keep that in mind. For now, MBL is not going all lamer boy on his opponent, not yet. Indians player will have a wood line off to the left side, berries off to the right, main gold on the front, extra gold is out on the side. Not a terrible map for MBL. I think he can probably structure this a bit. I don't love this hill, but maybe he controls this part of the map with some walls and some military buildings. And maybe it's all good in the hood for Mr. MBL. On the other side of the map, we will see st4rk. st4rk is playing as the Spanish in the purple trunks, and st4rk is going to have a wood line on the front. That's not so nice, but that's maybe can be okay with a little bit of structuring. This wood line on the back is not too bad, a little bit far from the TC. Main gold on the front, main stone on the front. Purple player is going to have a little bit of an uncomfortable looking map, but maybe something that he can deal with. If he does want to go towers, he will have to come out to the front to take stone. 4 minutes is going to be the moment that these guys should pause the game and ask for a re if they want to do it. And remember, each player will have one veto per set. So if your opponent asks for a re, you're allowed to tell them no once per set of games. And you're only really going to do that if you have a huge advantage on civs, I would think. So we've passed the 4-minute mark. Neither player has asked for the re, and we are going to power our way through. I'll soon be joined by Ornlu. We had a couple of last-minute problems with the new beta on Voobly. We haven't been able to launch Rex in the same game room, which was kind of the whole plan of doing this with the cocaster. So, you know, c'est la vie. Things are always difficult. I'm pretty sure we'll get him in here either this game or early in next game. But until then, we'll play with our soundboard and we'll enjoy some great high-level professional 1v1 action. 3 vills on wood for MBL, maybe thinking about Indian scouts. st4rk, as the Spanish, has 4 villagers out on wood, so he may go for an earlier bit of aggression in the form of a drush or some men-at-arms. Purple player is luring in his second boar. Everything looks gravy for both guys at the 15 villager point. MBL's scouting has been very much only on his side of the map. st4rk is just working his way toward MBL's base. So st4rk, with a little bit better early game scouting, well, found his resources more quickly, I should say. But st4rk is running right toward the TC. Oh God, he takes 3 big bursts of arrow fire. And that is all she wrote for st4rk's scout. Dang. If st4rk was thinking about men-at-arms and towers, it's going to be hard to pull off when you don't know where anything is. So, that is a really damaging moment for st4rk, losing his scout early on. Spanish player, during the loss of that scout, looks like he might have dropped his boar in a bad spot. I think that can happen when you have your town bell or your alarm bell ringing saying that your scout is under fire. So not a big deal there. We've got 6 vills out on the berries for st4rk, which is kind of interesting. Spanish player is going to come forward with the barracks. He could still come forward with some men-at-arms. I just think that towers would be a really... it would be like, I don't know, a shot in the dark, a literal shot in the dark for him. But maybe we'll see it soon. MBL's going to click up on 19 vills, and he will be going, I believe, for a scout build. But I could be wrong. These 4 villagers establishing a wood line on top of the hill. It looks like scouts to me from MBL, but we shall see. st4rk will loom on 21. He will move over to gold. He will click up in a moment, and we will keep an eye on whether he goes for men-at-arms or not. So it's a good day. It's a good Saturday. Tomorrow we will have the semifinals and finals for this tournament. So you'll see the players who have won earlier in the day. I guess maybe I won't spoil it in case people are watching this as a rec. But we've seen a lot of great games. By the end of the day today, we will all know who the winners are for Saturday, and we'll all know who the players are going to be on Sunday. We are beefing up the prize pool here today because of a couple of very generous donations from you guys, and I think it's going to be a nice little purse. $300 for the winner, and I think the second, third, and fourth place guys are going to get a little more money than we initially anticipated. So it should be a really nice purse. I hope that we can give a little bit back to these pros because I've been casting their games and enjoying their entertainment for so many years now. Well, not so many. It hasn't been 40 years, but, it's been a good couple of years of casting for me, and I do appreciate y'all hanging out here in the channel today. Maybe some of you guys are here for the first time. You'll know by the end of this that, okay, this guy Killer B is a super noob of a player, but he does love to talk, and he does love this game. For Militia out for the purple player Stark, he is going to be led right into a wolf there from MBL. The wolves are on MBL's side. MBL did hit the feudal age a moment ago, and he's immediately going to drop a stable, probably some scouts, and also a defensive tower. Very early prophylactic tower from MBL, but I think it can be quite nice to defend both the gold and that wood line on top of the hill. MBL will finish up his tower on top of the hill. His scouts are going to come out in higher numbers. Stark, after hitting a wolf, did lose a little bit of HP, but is now onto the men-at-arms play. MBL gets some good pokes on those men-at-arms while Stark runs away from the tower. And so far, Stark's men-at-arms have yet to find any damage. MBL will go back, or rather will camp out on top of this hill and continue to reinforce scouts until the time is right. Certainly 3 scouts versus 4 men-at-arms isn't super ideal, but it does look like MBL is going to easily clean up these men-at-arms without taking any eco damage. However, Stark has had a few moments to wall up. He's got his economy in order. Our player in purple is coming out now to get onto some stone, and we'll see what he decides to do as the game goes on. We still don't see a stable from Stark. We just see a mining camp and a couple of towers, or excuse me, a mining camp and a tower to go along with those men-at-arms. Stark's still rolling up to the north of the map. He's going to see if he can find some damage on MBL. MBL has actually decided, okay, I'm not afraid of those men-at-arms. I'm running in. MBL immediately engages the spear. The spear, unfortunately, was aggro against the wrong scout and took a ton of pokes before he got any hits in. This spearman is also going to die, and MBL will still have 4 scouts alive at the end of it. Stark's tower is 60% of the way up, and you know what that means.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
Oh, yeah. 60% of the time is not enough. 69% of the way up, but we will see the purple player lose a couple of vills. I think it was 3 vills on that front stone. Tower denied for a moment, and MBL gets a ton of damage in. And if you look at what the men-at-arms have done during the interim, they've done nothing. So although Stark is threatening with these men-at-arms, MBL absolutely made the right decision to push out because Stark has not landed any damage at all with that army. Awful start for Stark on stone, says Jerry. Well, Stark is trying to get out there and get some towers down and defend himself, but a little bit of a hard time getting things going here in the early part of the game. Nice micro from MBL to get down those couple of spears. Stark was just a couple seconds late. If he had one more spear out a little earlier, I think he's fine there. But c'est la vie, man. MBL puts down some damage, and Stark is going to play this one a little bit from behind. Certainly 5 villagers behind at this point. Going to be hard because Indians are already hard to keep up with when it comes to villager production. It's going to be hard for Stark to come back. MBL still roaming around with those scouts. They are ready to, viciously maraud villagers. Another villager could go down here. MBL will grab one, and he will lose a scout in the process. So it is now a 6 villager difference for our player in the green. And MBL looks totally fine in the early game.
Hi.
Oh, hey. You scared
Sorry
me.
to interrupt you, but I have done it.
Okay.
Successful.
Wonderful. I'm going to pause it 16 minutes flat, and I'll wait for you to get here.
Yep, I am just currently super speeding through everything.
Okay.
But thankfully, the beautiful tech support of my chat helped get me through it.
Cool, man. Well, when you get to 16 minutes, pause and let me know. And let me just introduce you again, guys. If you type !casters in the chat, you will see Ornlu's name. And although I made some technical issues out of something that should have been a lot easier, don't blame Ornlu for that. Although we started just me casting, I'm going to be joined by Ornlu, who's a really great caster. And I'm looking forward to hearing your perspective on this game. But yeah, technical issues are my fault, guys, and you should open up Ornlu's stream and give him a follow and give him some love. We do need to grow this community, especially guys who are putting out great content, guys and girls. We need to give them a little love. So, are you close? Are you at 16 minutes?
14 and a half minutes about.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
Almost there.
Wonderful, man. Ivik saying everything is KillerB's fault. Well, I did not foresee a few things that I maybe could have and should have. But
yeah, I think the problem was like the files were not like named correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like they needed the .mgz at the end.
Okay.
And for some reason they didn't have that.
Okay. Yeah, it's also
so Googly didn't recognize them.
It's also really weird that we can't. My initial plan was we'll just jump in the same game room and we'll cast because that should work fine. But for some reason that's not working. I guess it's the new beta. But okay, so are you ready at 16 minutes?
3, 2, 1. Okay. Ready whenever you are.
Awesome, man. I'll give you a second to orient yourself. I know what it's like to be diving through all of these technical issues. I'm certainly always a little frantic after that. But I'll bring you in just a moment, Ornlu. Take a minute, look at the maps, and see what you see. But what I was showing people a minute ago was MBL with a nice advantage. Green player has gone to wheelbarrow. He's several villagers ahead. He does have scouts. He's coming back to deal with Stark's aggression. And MBL's position looks quite good as he's on the way to dropping down a market. Ecos are similar, and I think I bought you some time now, Ornlu. What are your thoughts on this game so far?
Yeah, so from what I can tell, it seems like MBL went for scouts. Did Stark go for any offensive towers?
Nope, just men-at-arms.
Just men-at-arms?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's probably just going for men-at-arms, defensive towers, just trying to, hang on with just the towers and get up to the Castle Agent Conks. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
But looks like he's lost a fair amount to MBL scouts, because it's pretty hard to just hang on with pure towers.
Yeah, that first tower was 69% of the way up. People were happy with that number when the scouts rolled in. And those scouts from MBL, he just had 3 or 4 scouts, but they decimated, I believe, 4 villagers from the purple player. So a really great early start for MBL. If you're playing in this situation, do you have any advice for Stark to try to come back from this? What's your thought? I mean, it's a castle and conquistadors, right? That's all he's got to really rely on.
Yeah, but, thankfully Conquistadors are one of the best units in the Castle Age, and you just gotta, micro those guys as best you can, trying to get maximum damage onto your opponent's villagers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit tricky against the Indians. I think this is a pretty terrible matchup for the Spanish, to be honest, because Spanish, they like to be making cavalry of some kind most of the time, and the Indian player can just kind of spam camels, and, the camels can chase up to the Conquistadors eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of making sure that MBL can start keeping the camel numbers low for MBL.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, and I'll point out that people were watching my point of view just saw that MBL dove in behind one of the farmers. Really nice bit of micro there from Mibble, who got in behind a vill so she couldn't get back to the safety of the TC. MBL grabs yet another villager with a small investment into scouts. Bloodlines.
What time are you at?
I'm at 20 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, I didn't know you resumed. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's fine. I'm just catching up real quick.
All right, I'll stop at 20 minutes, 20 seconds.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's actually, I'm enjoying the, this is how we used to do it in the old days. Excuse me.
Oh,
we would always be, everybody's off at a different time. So it kind of makes it more fun, more challenging.
It gives you the HD experience when you're not even on HD.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at 2020. Just let me know when you get there, and I'll play a couple of drops for people. Let's see.
Okay. Okay. I'm actually at 21:30.
Okay. Perfect.
So perfect.
So you pause there, and I'll tell you when I reach you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So MBL has dropped down 3 archery ranges, interestingly, behind this. Maybe not too surprising, but very interesting to me. After grabbing Bloodlines, he is going to add in padded archer armor and add in 3 stables. MBL still roaming around, looking to find a villager to pick off. Purple player is on the way to Castle Age, and Stark is going to have enough stone for a castle drop when he gets to the next age. So MBL will try to keep the pressure on from Archer range units, and we will see Stark on the other side. And I am now at 21 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Perfect. I am now resumed. Everything should be fine.
Hey man, life is hard. Casting is not for the faint of heart, right?
Definitely not. It's definitely a lot of work, a lot of scrambling, but we got there in the end, and we will see triple range cav archers from MBL, which always makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely. The 3 range cav archers make a lot of sense here. Stark is basically waiting to drop a castle, but he's got a lot of openings to be raided, and maybe MBL can continue to punish him here in the Castle Age.
Yeah, I really like the Cav Archer choice. Like you're saying, they have significantly better rating potential compared to Crossbowmen. And then once you sort of get those upgrades rolling, particularly Ballistics and Thumb Ring, you can really start to challenge the Conquistadors, I think, a lot sooner than you could with Camels.
This is one of those ticking clock situations. Of course, Conquistadors are a super badass unit, and Stark will begin to build his castle, but until the castle's done, MBL does kind of have a little bit of free reign. MBL is trying to work his way in through the gates on Stark's wood line. Stark, for now, is yet to abandon ship there. The conks will come soon, but of course the castle does need more time to incubate, and there will be a good number of cav archers out, as MBL has gone for 3 range archers and 1 TC with a university. So a pretty aggressive play, Ornlu, for MBL here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is very much the correct decision. He is just so much faster to the Castle Age compared to his opponent that he can really sort of maximize getting out a ton of cav archers before Stark can really get his Conquistador numbers out and rolling that he would want to, because obviously Conquistador production is very much limited to, you know, the one castle.
Yeah, we'll see MBL come in and try to grab another villager, but Stark is Johnny on the spot, and he does get out into his TC. Second town center is up for Stark in a really nice position if you consider the raiding potential of the cav archers. I like that TC. How about you?
Oh yeah, definitely agree with that. It's a nice thick wood line over there in the back. So not really able for the cav archers to shoot over it, and it really only leaves one decent angle that MBL can potentially raid Stark, though I would like to see him wall to his TC from the edge of the map.
Yeah, for now, we will see MBL actually going back for a moment, and that gives us a second to see what MBL's economy looks like, and it is still a 1 TC build for Mr. MBL. Not a whole lot of walling and defense, but 1 tower on top of the hill. No stone in the bank for a TC, so MBL is going to need a little bit more time. He's committed to aggression. Oh, he does have a TC. My apologies.
He just bought 100 stone with his market, so he will be throwing down an additional TC.
Great. Yeah, so MBL can bring the eco a little bit up to a higher number. He's still a little bit ahead of Stark. Both guys on 2 town centers, 20 military for the green player MBL.
Yeah, though, of course, worth mentioning is that MBL has had a, at least 3 to 4 villager lead throughout this game, and that really is starting to add up in terms of just how many military units he can reduce compared to his opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good point. Yeah, so we're going to see this game roll forward. We're going to see if Stark can pull his way back in. Spanish are a pretty powerful civ. You can play Spanish from behind. MBL will have map control for a while with those cav archers. He's dropping a lot of outposts. He's known as the outpost rusher, right? Using his signature there. What do you think about this matchup, Ornlu? I mean, what does Stark need to try to do to beat MBL? Of course, Stark coming in as an underdog.
Yeah, I think he's in just a really tricky spot because he can't really go out on the map with his conquistadors because then his villagers are just kind of easy pickings for MBL's forward cav archers. But he needs to do something, right? Because if Stark doesn't apply any pressure, MBL's just going to get further and further ahead. And as we were saying earlier, I think this late game really does favor the Indians in this matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Stark to keep up with the Indians booming. As you said, he is pushing out with those conks a bit, kind of hanging out on top of a hill, grabbing leather archer armor now. Purple player is still on 11 total military, but his boom is doing okay. 55 total vills for him. He and MBL with the same vill count. But MBL's got a pretty scary group of CA with bloodlines +2/+2, and he's going to look to push on the left side of Purple's base. I'm at 29 minutes and 10 seconds, Ornlu. How about you?
Somehow I got like a minute behind.
Okay.
No idea how that happened.
It's just different CPUs. It's fine. Just power your way through about a minute, and we'll be on the same page.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm at like 29:25.
Okay. Great. I'll pause for 10 seconds, and then we'll be equal. But yeah, what do you think about this matchup right now?
Okay, yeah, so MBL has over double the military of his opponent, and really Stark has been unable to get the sort of damage done with these conks that he's really wanted to. The value of conquistadors, it drops over time. They're not the greatest Imperial Age unit, so you really want to get damage done with them in the Castle Age. But now we have MBL swooping in, going to be taking down Stark's Palisade, and Stark needs to bring the boys home real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Conquistadors need to be here to help out the TC. TC firing away, but these Cav Archers with +2 defense are not exactly melting under the town center. Stark will lose 6 or 7 more vills there, and MBL continues to roam around, and he continues to put hoof marks all over Stark's farms. Stark is not in a good spot all of a sudden after MBL dove in. It's looking pretty bleak for him, actually.
Yeah, about like a couple minutes ago, MBL got both Thumb Ring and Ballistics, and now that these are now fully upgraded Castle Age Cav Archers for the Indian player, it's going to be really hard for the Conquistadors to challenge them, because it's sort of at this point that the Cav Archers are going to be pretty cost-efficient versus the Conks, because they just fire so much faster and more accurately.
Yeah, and MBL does not seem to want to engage those conks. He seems to want to get out, and Stark almost has the time to wall him in, but maybe not quite, because this villager probably won't make it over. No special trap like in the Degao matches we saw. MBL, though, is getting a lot of damage on him. Those Cav Archers are really melting. However, he's certainly put a dent in Stark's eco.
Yeah, and I think that's really what he wanted to do there. He knows he has the economy advantage. He just needs to get at least a reasonable trade to sort of maintain his advantage. Even if he's losing all of his Cav Archers, he's probably pretty okay with that. He knows he's on the better economy by a long shot. Now he's just throwing down more and more archery ranges. He can catch up in the military count. I mean, he's still way ahead, all things considered.
Yeah, good cleanup from Stark at the very end there, but if you consider the damage, like you said, it wasn't so great. MBL is back with another batch of CA, and he is now chasing Stark around in the north of Stark's base. So Stark having to abandon a wood line for a while. Maybe Stark was coming for a forward castle or something. That might be the case, but for now, Stark's villagers are kind of caught between a rock and a hard place as those CA are sniping some of them down.
Yeah, it looks like he's going for TC up to the north of his base, but those Cav Archers are going to try and put a damper on that.
Yeah, MBL's CA have been extremely active. MBL is on the way to Handcart, and he might be thinking about Imp very shortly. For now, it is 77 vills for green, 58 villagers for our player in purple. Stark is cleaning up a bit, but MBL continues to basically go straight for the villagers. He's just sniping villagers. He doesn't care that much about killing conquistadors. And so far, it's been effective. Stark's falling further behind.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the kill-death ratio this game, it's only very slightly in favor of MBL, and that's just because he hasn't really been caring too much about his, taking the better, military engagements. It's all about just sacrificing his Cav Archers to kill as many villagers as possible, and just maintaining that economy advantage and being able to power through by creating more and more military, even now starting to add some camels into his army comp.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm at 35 minutes, 30 seconds, just to give you a time check. We'll have to keep adjusting as the series goes on, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, we're good, I think.
Awesome. Okay, Ornlu, well, we've got a moment here where MBL's kind of roaming around. I don't think we're going to see a huge engagement for a couple of minutes. So tell me a bit about your channel, man. What have you been up to lately? I know your rating is going up and you're casting a lot of games, but what's your bread and butter? What do you do on a daily basis?
Mostly just casting whatever expert games happen to be being played at, whatever time. But yeah, just casting, working on improving that, casting any tournaments that happen to, be occurring these days. Pretty hyped for Escape Champions League and casting some of the qualifiers for that. Other than that, just, hanging out, maybe playing a few games here and there, getting embarrassed, all the good stuff.
Yeah, man. I think you need to get beaten up on if you're going to be a caster. Like, you wouldn't want a guy watching a game with no fog of war from 1,000 feet up at whatever speed he wants. You wouldn't want a guy like that to get an ego and be like, oh, I'm so good. Like, it's important for us to lose a bunch of games.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta stay grounded.
Of course, everyone in chat is at least 2K8 Voobly, so,
Yeah.
they'll always tell me the right thing to do.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we've still got MBL rolling around with these CA. The conditions of the game have not changed much. It's still Stark going full on into Conquistadors. He's got 2 castles down, pumping those out. On the other side of the map, it is the green player MBL as the Indians, who's on 91 Vils, halfway up to Imp. Interestingly, going up to Guard Tower, which is kind of the new sexy thing to do. And we've got villagers coming forward from MBL to drop down some towers. Interesting to see towers, isn't it, here?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this from MBL a lot more often than you would expect, and I really don't know why. Like, it seems like a lot safer just to invest in the castles, and I mean, right now the villagers are just kind of getting mowed down by a few conquistadors, but I don't get it, man. Indians don't even get arrow slits and keep.
Yeah, it's an interesting moment. I mean, you can see how some towers on like the wood lines of Stark could be annoying, but yeah, at this point in the game, it's a lot of stone to invest. So we'll have to keep an eye on this and see if it works. This might turn into one of those moments where I don't know if you know the movie Dumb and Dumber, but it's like just when I thought you couldn't be any stupider, you go and do this and totally redeem yourself. So let's see. Maybe MBL will redeem himself.
Yeah, MBL sent some villagers to the south of the map to take one of those neutral golds, but Stark did manage to find that, but he's just now clicking up to the Imperial Age, and MBL is just getting all sorts of Imperial Age Cap Archer techs, and, well, it's going to be really difficult for Stark, I think, to not be overrun by a bunch of HCA.
Yeah, camels and heavy cav archer with a couple guard towers in the mix. It does look like MBL is going to parlay what was a good bit of damage in the Feudal Age into a good eco boost into a really scary Imperial Age push. Stark's going to need a really great defense, or MBL's going to need to throw for this game to change. I think it's a really it's one of those games I give Stark like a 5% chance to be able to win this game right now. It's really a tough spot.
Yeah, definitely, but like going back to the guard tower thing, MBL's just about to finish his first castle right now. If he got that castle up, say a minute and a half sooner, he'd already have Trebs out starting to work away at Stark's castles. And right now, MBL's just giving Stark time. Like, yeah, okay, MBL's still probably going to win this game. He still is getting probably 2 Trebs out before Stark can even get 1 out. But why would you just build 2 guard towers that don't really do anything?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. The guard towers was a strange play. We've seen a lot of guard tower from pros lately, so maybe that will be a question to ask. Maybe if MBL can win this set and he can win this tournament, maybe we can get an interview with him and ask him, "What's up with the guard towers, bro? What's up with that?" I think it's an interesting thing because, of course, you take over a little bit of map control there. If you have enough of them, I'm sure it's a nice force multiplier that doesn't take away from your pop space. I especially like, for instance, the tower that MBL is putting up now. I'm at 43 minutes, 10 seconds. That one on the wood line is pretty nice, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, that's a tower I can agree with. And I was actually casting, I think it was MBL versus Dogao, maybe like a week ago. And MBL did this sort of guard tower plus monk and siege push with Portuguese. And that ended up working really well because with the buffs to guard towers in the expansion, they deal 9 damage with Bodkin and the Castle Age, and they just absolutely dumpster mangonels. And it was just, there was no way for Dogao to sort of hang on to the pressure of the guard towers. That, I think, is like sort of the best application for them these days.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, one of the nice things about towers at this point in the game is like carving a villager or 2 away from your economy is not such a big deal, right? But dropping a tower on a wood line like MBL has done on Stark can be really nice. So I can see that there are some really nice things about it. But before we get too crazy about towers, there's a pretty big engagement going on. We've got a bunch of heavy CA fighting conks at the moment.
Yeah, +4 defense for Stark did come in the middle of that fight, and we do see MBL on the retreat right now, but I mean, he just has so many units, right? It's 64 military to 22. Every single unit for Stark is irreplaceable, and he's just going to call the GG there.
Yeah, Stark will give the GG here in game number 1. It was one of these situations where the purple player lost 4 or 5 vills in the early game. He made men-at-arms and didn't get any damage. And MBL basically took control from that point forward. There was a couple of interesting calls, maybe calls that people in the chat would say are questionable from MBL. Maybe you guys have opinions on Guard Tower. But hey, MBL ultimately gets the win, and that's all that counts, man. Any final thoughts, Ornlu, on this game?
No, I think we pretty much covered most of it. I like the aggression from MBL in the early Castle Age when he knew he had the military production advantage. I think that was just a really smart decision, and he took his advantage and ran with it.
Yeah, absolutely. MBL playing a nice little game there. I'm going to quickly update the scoreboard to reflect that MBL now has a point. And we'll immediately jump into the next game. We're a little bit behind schedule, so if you're ready, that is. Let's jump into game number 2. What do you think?
Yep. Let me just give me 1 second to update my own scoreboard.
All right.
We will jump into the next game.
Great.
I'm ready.
Cool. So let's launch into it and make sure that we have the same file. Yeah, we'll be ready to go. Thanks, guys, for the biddies. I see a lot of biddies being dropped out there. Much appreciated. Let's go ahead and get ready. I'll pause as soon as I launch here. I've got game number 2 as Khmer versus Vikings. Is that what you have as well?
As do I.
Wonderful. So let's take our overlays off and let's count it down. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, guys. It's Killer B. This is the Killer B Arabia Cup, and I am joined by Mr. Ornlu. Thanks again for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Last minute, but yeah, I was going to stream today anyway, so yeah, I'm really glad I was able to come on. This is, I always love casting me some 1v1 Arabia, so glad to be able to be here with you.
Dude, I'm so glad to have you, and we'll talk a little bit about how people can find your channel in a minute, but first, since this tournament is based on random civs 1v1, people would be good to know that if you call a re in this situation, you get a new civ and a new map. So that is one of the weird things about the tournament. However, your opponent can make you play through a re 1 time per set. So you have re's that will give you a new civ, and you have vetoes which can make your opponent play a crappy civ. Ornlu, if you look at this matchup, Khmer versus Vikings on Arabia, do you think either player should try to use a re here, or do you think it's worth it for both of them to stick with what the civs are?
So any, frequent viewers of my channel will know that I am not a fan of the Khmer for 1v1 Arabia. I think they're just the worst civ for 1v1 Arabia by a decent amount. Their tech tree just has so many holes, and personally, if I were MBL, I'd call the re. Vikings a solid 1v1 Arabia civilization, one of the best economy bonuses in the game, fully upgraded arbalests. Yeah, they sort of peter off in the post-Imperial Age, but that's usually not your biggest concern for 1v1 Arabia.
Yeah, and I just realized I had the score wrong, so I'll catch up to you real quick as we power through. I'm going to be at 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Is that about where you are?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Great. So we'll see if a re comes in this case. For now, it is MBL as the Khmer with 3 villagers on the back wood line. He will be basically ready for feudal pressure at the rate that he's going. Bankberries for MBL as well. Lots of gold and stone up to the north of his TC in kind of a hard to protect area, but we'll see. Stark right now is trying to lame MBL on his boar, and that boar is actually not going to go back. Almost a good lame. And there we go. Are you at 4 minutes?
Whoa, I'm a little ahead actually. I'm at 4:17.
Okay, perfect. So we just saw the use of the re and the veto. MBL called a re. Stark said, no, I like this situation. We're playing this game. So that will be Stark's only veto in the series. Stark thinks he has a big enough bonus to use a veto here. And do you agree with that?
I do, actually. I think that Vikings, are, like I said, are just a really solid civilization, and Khmer aren't. The one thing that I do think is a bit tricky for the Vikings in this situation is that their monks are not good, to say the least. So if we do see some elephants coming out from MBL later on, the Viking monks are not really going to be the best answer that they could be, although we do have chieftains as a potential, I guess, for their pikemen and berserks.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm looking around the map for laming. I haven't seen too much. Looks like Stark may have stolen a sheep from MBL at this point. But yes, I agree that this is kind of a... I think you have to use that veto when you can, because the next game is going to be a random generation as well, and you might not be better next game. And Stark here, already losing one match, can't really afford to give up any types of advantage that he has. So we'll see. Right now, the purple player is going to have Loom already. He had a long board to lure in. And we'll see a barracks coming down from Stark at 17 fill count. So maybe a drush from Stark here, Ornlu?
My guess would be men-at-arms. It's pretty common to see as the Vikings. I think the reason you wouldn't want to go for a drush necessarily is because that HP bonus doesn't really come in until the feudal age, and you don't get the free wheelbarrow until the feudal age, of course. So makes sense to be able to get to the feudal age as quickly as you can, and then get those 50 HP men-at-arms, which is pretty tough for scouts to deal with. And scouts, I would say, is the most common strategy you see from the Khmer.
MBL outside of, or Stark outside of this wood line being not super thick, has a really nice map too. I mean, a little men-at-arms pressure, a little bit of walling, get that nice Vikings feudal age eco bonus, do a little more walling. Stark's in a good position here. I think it's a really good use of his veto. Not only does he have a good civ, but he's got a really good map. And MBL doesn't really have that good of a map.
No, I'm going to go with the big no on that one. It's just so open, and all of his resources fairly exposed. He only has one good wood line, and he's had to go for such a conservative wall that, yeah, it's going to be pretty easy for, say, archers to even harass the wood line later on in the feudal age. But good map or no, Stark doesn't care. He's going forward.
Yeah, Stark here is, or is he going forward? Maybe you're a second ahead of me. I'm at 9 minutes flat.
Oh, wow, I'm like a minute and a half ahead.
Okay, I'll speed up for a second. Just pause it at 10:30 and I'll meet you there.
Okay.
So we're at 10:30. Sorry for the loss in synchrony, guys. We've had a little bit of trouble watching Rex together. Okay, unpause, my friend, if you're ready. Purple player, as you said, is going forward, and tell me what you see here. You've got 5 vills, right? 4 militia?
Yeah, 5 vills, 4 militia, so this is definitely a reasonably heavy commitment to the forward aggression here for Stark. And I do like this decision. He realizes that his opponent's map is real bad, so worst case scenario, I think this aggression should do like some damage, and he can wall pretty comfortably behind it, and I think still get a pretty solid castle age time.
Yeah, I think that we'll see where this first tower goes, but Stark can rub noses with MBL's lumber camp if he wants to, with the 4 men-at-arms there. MBL doesn't really have anything to say to this army, so Stark's 5 vills can do whatever they want, and Stark's going to walk right up to that wood line and drop the first tower, and this is bad for MBL with a capital B. But the green player has 1 scout in the stable. He has a defensive tower coming, needs to quick wall this side because the men-at-arms are really going to be a problem if they get in. But for now, MBL is going to try. It's a tough position, though.
Yeah, this is why I think that, generally speaking, the 4 men-at-arm plus tower play is pretty strong when your opponent's going for scouts, because you see the military count 5-2. Just you don't have the numbers of units that you need to defend against the men-at-arms, which perform quite well against scouts in the the 1v1, especially with the extra 5 HP for the Vikings.
Yeah, I think MBL here is he's in a lot of trouble, like you said. And the 4 militia still waiting out there on the top of the map. Most of them, or all of them, on full HP. MBL is going to run in and try to rush down the tower, but Stark's been waiting for him. MBL will try to quick wall so that Stark can't get in, but this isn't going to go well for MBL. There's too many villagers, don't you think?
Yeah, that definitely seems like would be the case. MBL is going to Stark's rather going to wrap around. He's going to build another tower on the other side of the wood line. Well, probably. Yeah, he is. But this is going to be definitely a bit of loss here for MBL, I think.
It's interesting. I did not think that that Stark would retreat there. I thought he would fight with villagers and men-at-arms, and I thought he would be okay. But I was wrong. Stark is going to let that second tower come up on the right, and he's going to retreat with 3 vills. So Stark is still roaming around with that army. It looks like he's waiting for his moment to try to kill some Vills. And we'll see. MBL interest. Look at MBL's newest tower. I'm at 1445. MBL's building a tower on his own wood line. That's a really cool spot right there.
Yeah, I agree, because not only does it, one, deny Stark's tower, but two, it protects any potential, like, future harassment from crossbows or anything like that. There's just no way that this wood line is getting attacked by Stark, at least, you know, not easily.
Yeah, and kind of devastatingly, Stark's tower there gets denied on 86%. That would have been a really annoying tower, quite annoying tower. But for now, Stark is going to have to fall back a little bit and build a few more. Purple player has walled himself in mostly, did a lot of work to wall in a pretty small bit of the base. But ultimately, 6 villagers on stone for purple. He's starting to pull in some good stone economy. And yet, I don't think he can really spend all that stone on castles, or rather on towers. So, I don't know, maybe a castle drop in the early castle age, but for now, more towers.
Always towers. If at first you don't succeed, tower again. It's the way of the Age of Empires these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the reason that we saw Stark be a lot more cautious with his units than I think either of us predicted was that MBL does have the house bonus as Khmer, so he was able to dart his villagers into the house when they were at low HP. So I think Stark realizes that he just couldn't kill any villagers with his units.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good awareness on your part. Not very good awareness on my part. I was like, oh, come on, man, get in there. But I think you're right there. And I do see an archery range coming for MBL, some skirmishers as well. More defensive towers for our player in green. Stark's still creeping forward, but Ornlu, who's winning, in your opinion? Who's got an edge here?
It's kind of hard to say. Stark has, of course, the map control, and MBL is just cornered it into such a small segment of the map. But what I really like for MBL is that he does have access to his main stone, and I think it's honestly a bit of a mistake on the part of Stark to not deny that. You know that you're denying his stone up in the north, so might as well just sweep down to the south, prevent your opponent from collecting any potential stone. And I think MBL actually will hold on to this relatively okay. I think MBL's biggest concern going forward is that gold, which he doesn't have.
Yeah, MBL's gold is double towered, as you said, which is a really nice thing for Stark to be able to, well, I mean, maybe just retreat home and let these villagers stay, or rather let those towers stay behind. Stark will stonewall in his towers, but it looks like he's ready to pull back into his own base. MBL is ready to pull forward with 5 villagers, some skirms, and a couple scouts. So MBL wants to flip the script and try to put some damage on Stark. And he can, Ornlu. I mean, this base is not super well defended versus towers, right?
No, it's not. And I do like the outpost from Stark, just to see if your opponent is going for, you know, any forward towers of his own. Yeah, it looks like he's already throwing down a preemptive defensive watchtower, and I think he has Town Watch as well. So that's an upgrade I really like to see in Tower Wars. You know, just know that your opponent is where your opponent's throwing down towers at all times.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of corny for me to say that a pro player is a smart player, because you can't be a pro without being smart. But Stark is one of these guys who really, he has great YouTube content where he's talking about build orders. He comes across as a really smart guy, and I think this is a pre-prepared strategy that he was thinking about trying to pull off on MBL. And so far, it's going great. Really, really great build order, really great aggression. Stark is pushing MBL back. MBL, for now, needs to circle the wagons and try to go for Plan B. But Stark's doing great. 600 food for the purple player, 300 gold. MBL on the other side is going to have decidedly less. 200 food, 0 gold in the bank for MBL.
Yeah, and this is really, I think, going to start becoming a problem very quickly for MBL. You might actually need to go forward with his villagers or something just to collect any amount of gold. Otherwise, he's just going to be stuck abusing the market all day. That's not exactly sustainable.
Yeah, Stark has definitely got MBL by the balls, as they say. Not a good position at all for our player in green, but MBL will try to double down a little bit on his feudal army. Stark is ready to click up, maybe waiting for another building, maybe not. But MBL is going to push forward with a small feudal army and try to get something done on the offensive side of things. Still, as you said, Still needs to use the market if he wants to get any gold, and not exactly in a great spot food-wise either. So MBL's in the feudal age for a little while to come.
Yeah, and yes, MBL has been able to push back Stark and, at least even up the, the kill deaths and be able to take all of this map control, but what good is map control when you're still in the feudal age when your opponent has 2 stable knights coming at you?
Absolutely. Stark used his veto here, and it looks like so far it's paying off. MBL certainly still has a puncher's chance to get back into this game, but Stark is in a nice controlled position, and we may see the 7 seed grab a win here and maybe get some momentum, but there's a lot left to be played. MBL's coming with some more towers to try to keep Stark busy and annoyed inside of his base, but a lot of prophylactic towers for purple. I don't think MBL really gets as much damage as he wants from these towers. What do you think, Ornlu? Are those good enough towers?
Not for MBL, I think,
Yeah.
because Stark's going to get to the castle age pretty soon. He's going to throw down a siege workshop. He's going to make 2 knights, which will kill all of the units for MBL, and then like 1 battering ram cleans up all of this.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really tough spot for MBL. It is a tournament game. We will probably see MBL fight this one out even after Stark hits castle for a bit. But there are so many things about this position that are bad that, if you're just playing this game for points, you might just call GG when your opponent hits castle, because MBL still hasn't clicked. He has bought the resources to click up, but like you said, the castle age is going to be a real problem for him. Purple player, for now, is going to have those triple stables actually on the front, all pumping out knights. So Stark is going to add insult to injury with 3 stables here.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe MBL might just call the GG when Stark hits castle age. Sorry, my puppy is barking in the background.
That's going to be new on our soundboard. We need a barking for a wolf. We need a couple barks. It doesn't sound like you have a wolf, though.
Outside real quick.
Sure. So, guys, I'll chat at you while Ornlu brings that probably extremely cute dog outside. Does not sound like a wolf. Sounds like a cute little dog. Chain barding armor coming for the purple player. We'll have +2 defense on those couple of knights. MBL's trying to stonewall himself into a little pocket with some forward villagers. Stark, for now, is headed forward to MBL's base, and oh no, MBL's not able to quick wall him out in time. So the knights will get in somewhat and at least deny MBL from taking his own stone. MBL is going to be on 11 stone at the moment, may have used some of that stone to buy gold to click up. So we're not going to see any more towers or any more TCs from MBL for now. Purple Knights are in. MBL can garrison the houses and hide the vills, but it will be a lot of idle time. And still, the castle age is slowly ticking in. Purple is taking down towers up in the north, and Ornlu is back.
Yes, I am back.
Hey,
He has been ejected from my room.
Let me quickly answer a question. Somebody's got a great question. Does the veto refund the re? That's the perfect way to write it. You do keep your re if your opponent vetoes. I'm at 28 minutes, 10 seconds. How about you, man?
I will catch up to that very quickly.
Cool.
But this is a lot of good old Mr. Pokey Pokes coming out here for MBL. So he's just going to try and hold on with pure pikemen, but this is already looking so desperate for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got MBL with forging on the way. Lots of pikes on the map. 28 minutes, 45 seconds. Purple player Stark is running roughshod all over this economy. MBL will get some elephants out. He will only be at a 7 villager disadvantage, which is actually not so bad considering how dire things looked. But Stark's towers or MBL's towers on the front are in peril, and Stark's position looks good. The game will shift to the castle age, and we will continue to see these guys fight it out. Stark will have a little bit of an advantage, but I guess there's still a lot to be played here.
Yeah, I think the problem for MBL is he's going to be stuck on 1 TC, at least for the foreseeable future. And Stark, with the free hand card, his economy is going to be looking real nice. And he has, like, the control of the golds in the middle of the map as well. Once these towers fall for MBL at the front, he's going to lose control of this forward gold. And then he's just going to have no gold income. And knowing MBL, he probably hasn't scouted the rest of the map, and that is true. MBL never really scouting the edges of the map. There are 2 neutral golds in the very north of the map that he could take, but he doesn't see that.
Yeah, it's really hard to see those when you're getting trapped in, but that is that would be a huge bonus for MBL if he could get that done. Stark is towering up MBL's back woodline, continuing to try to annoy the green player, who shifts all of his villagers off to the left side. And although it's only a 9-villager advantage, I would imagine that MBL has had a lot of idle time due to Stark's knight raiding and towers. Stark will get a second TC. He'll continue to clean up the towers slowly but surely, keeping pressure on MBL. It's a good position for purple. As the Khmer, Ornlu, do you see a way back? Like, what is your thought on this? Are we going to build a couple of elephants and try to, like, defend for a while and boom up, or?
Against knights?
I guess it's a moot point because I don't know. What game time are you at?
31, 33. Oh, there's the GG.
Okay, yeah. I asked you to tell me how he can come back after he calls GG, so...
There we go.
So game number 2 goes to Stark, and the series evens up at 1-1. What are your final thoughts on this one, man? I mean, summarize what you saw, and tell me what you think about the matchup going into game 3. Who's got the mental advantage?
I think it was just a really smart veto for Stark at this point. He saw his opponent's map was really bad. He saw his opponent's civ was really bad. And he just sort of exploited that, I think, to its fullest potential and just had a really sort of a clean game plan as he got into the Castle Age with the triple stable knights. Just never gave MBL a moment to breathe and got the W there.
Yeah, man, a very nice game. I'm just going to pop out super briefly and look at the achievements since we are quite a ways behind behind the schedule. But let's just quickly cycle through these and get ready for the third game. Stark gathering more of everything in that game. Maybe not super surprising considering the pressure that MBL sustained. Stark with the higher villager count was taking over the game as it went into the mid-Castle Age. And that's all she wrote. So 1-1 will be the score after 2 games between MBL and Stark. This is a best of 5. And if you're ready, man, I'll be ready for game number 3 in just a second.
I am ready whenever you are.
Cool. Guys, if you want to support Ornlu, and I think you should want to support him because he's a great caster here. He's not only helping me out, so I owe him a favor, but I think he does a really great job. You can click on the caster's link there. That is a link to Ornlu's channel. He's live now. You can watch there. You can follow there, or you can just give him some love. But I'm ready for game number 3. I'm ready to launch it. I'll pause it at 0 seconds, and then when you're ready, you can count us down.
I am already at 0 seconds, so...
Okay, perfect, perfect. I love how prompt you are, man. This is...
I do what I can.
So professional, I like it. 1-1 will be the score, guys, and I am just now in. So let me take the overlay off, and in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right.
All right, guys. Game number 3, MBL versus Stark. The score is 1-1. It's KillerB's Arabia Cup, round of 8. And I am joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ornlu. Thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been some interesting games so far. A lot of early advantages snowballing into wins later on. So we'll see if these 2 very sort of boomy defensive players will actually be booming and playing defensively. It's a lot more aggressive than I think we're used to seeing from these guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. Viper and Degao was a much more defensive and longer drawn-out series than I expected. And now, like you said, there's been a lot of pressure in these games. I'll just quickly remind people that players can re before 4 minutes. It's a random Civ 1v1 tournament. It's a best of 5. And if you get a re, you get a new Civ. So if your Civ sucks, you can try to re your way out of it. But your opponent can veto your re 1 time per set. Stark has already used his veto. MBL still has one. Ornlu, just after you've looked quickly at the maps, do you think one of these players should try to re out of this situation? Or do you think they should both just play it as it lies?
Personally, I'd play it as it lies. I know that Turk's not the greatest 1v1 civilization, but I think they're still pretty fine. And if you're MBL, you see that you have the gold in the back of your map. So, at least for a reasonable amount of time, you're going to have gold income pretty secure. And it's not like his other golds are particularly far forward. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'd say I'd just play on if I were MBL. Then Celt's, good civilization. Stark's map is pretty nutty. So, yeah, I would play on if I was him as well.
MBL is a professional player and a professional lamer, and he is now starting to go forward to maybe lame his opponent's resources. There is a boar here from st4rk, but MBL just can't quite see it yet. Green player may be able to find that boar soon. st4rk continues to boom up. I agree with you about the play on in a lot of ways. Maybe if MBL was scouting forward a little bit sooner and he saw how sweet st4rk's map can be, he might call a read just based on that. But frankly, 4 minutes is a really difficult amount of time to find the 2 back stones, the gold, which should be nicely nestled in behind one little quick wall on the front. So MBL doesn't really know how good st4rk's map could be, and he's going to play on. We passed the 4-minute mark, and this is going to shape up. So what do you think we'll see in the feudal age here, Ornlu? I got 4 vills on wood for the purple player in Celts and 3 villagers on wood for MBL.
I think scouts are a pretty reasonable choice as the Turks. Obviously, you get that free light cav upgrade in the Castle Age for all of your leftover scouts. And it's, just a pretty safe standard opening. The 3 villagers on wood, it definitely sort of indicates that line of play. And for st4rk here, maybe a Drush, maybe Men-at-Arms play. But I think going for a Drush, maybe even a Drush Fast Castle is possible, just because st4rk's map is so good. Oh man, these are the maps I dream of.
Yeah, st4rk's map is wonderful. MBL is trying to lame that boar if he can, but st4rk is hanging around with his scout in defense to try to stop MBL from laming. For now, MBL has at least disrupted that eco a little bit, making st4rk work for it in the micro department. st4rk with a bunch of idle vills under the TC for a moment because he wants to have that second board in, but it's not there yet. MBL will come back and block this vill who's bringing in the boar, and st4rk's gonna be fine to get it in, but it's been a little bit of a rocky road for him.
Yeah, I think this sort of further would at least lead me down to just going for a Drush at a minimum, just going for the Drush. You know that, okay, I've been slowed down a fair amount in my feudal age time, so might as well just go for the Drush and go for whatever afterward, either feudal age archers or just a fast castle.
I've been just gawking with an open jaw at how good st4rk's map is, but I do need to take another look at MBL's map. MBL's starting to put down some structure. You can kind of envision how he's going to defend this. He'll have at least one wood line that's fairly safe. We'll have back gold and back stone. Actually, MBL is not in that bad of a situation base-wise, but I think st4rk has like a 10 out of 10 map. This is one that I would be super happy about. But MBL's probably at an 8 out of 10 in my book, too. There's a lot of things that he can do.
Just about to say that.
Okay, good. We're on the same page, man. This is what co-casters are supposed to... We're Thunder Buddies now, right?
Oh, yeah. But yet, if I didn't see st4rk's base as MBL, I'd be thinking, man, my map is so good, it doesn't even matter that I'm Turks. But it's just... If I were st4rk, I'd just try and go for the fast castle age. Obviously, he will be going for a Drush of some kind, since he has the militia wandering out on the map right now. But you have all of these resources in the back. I'd just try to boom up, play defensively with mangonels, pikemen, that sort of thing, and then get to that Celtic power in the Imperial Age.
Sure, yeah, I think that's a very good point. I will say that MBL has clicked up now, so he might be going for the scout play, is adding in a barracks, and just let me say as a disclaimer to people out there watching, we are behind schedule, kind of happens in most tournaments here. So Ornlu and I, we're still doing the set that was supposed to start at 16 GMT. As you can see, we're only into game number 3, so we are going to be delayed in the final set. So if you're hanging on for Vinch versus Hera at the end of the day, that's probably going to be a bit late. We don't know exactly how late because kind of the point of it's a hard thing to do, but I wanted to stay blind to the results, so I don't exactly know how long this will take, but we'll be at least, I would say, an hour late on starting that game at the pace we're going. Sorry for all that disclaimer, Ornlu. What do you see going on the map? What do you got?
Well, st4rk with a little bit of cheeky smack talk, saying 1-0 as he killed MBL's scout with his own scout. Both scouts were at 3 HP, so managing to get that little last hit in. But yeah, it's going to be scouts coming in for MBL. 21 pop uptime. Everything pretty standard as far as that goes. And then just walling up defensively for st4rk. This very much leads me to believe he's going to be looking to go for a fast castle age.
Yeah, 27 vil up for st4rk. He's sending 3 villagers over to the gold pile. He did loom up, so it's not a full-on arena fast castle build. But yeah, absolutely. Stark is in a great position to go for a fast castle here. Just to remind you, or just to let you know, I'm at 11 minutes, 35 seconds.
Okay, I'll catch up to that real quick.
Yeah, and sorry to you for that. This is not convenient, but sorry about that.
Well, technology is the vehicle of esports, as they say in StarCraft. So, we got to make do with what we can.
Yeah, man. When today started, I was like, oh, there's so many things that can go wrong in this stream. And I really would not have guessed that it would be loading up the Rex. But hey, there's a new beta out on Voobly. Voobly does a great job at continuously releasing new updates. And, every update comes with a little bit of problems. And frankly, I don't even know for sure that it's the update. But Stark does now hit the feudal age. He is immediately going to drop down an archery range on one side of his map with a couple of vills. Does not have the wood for another building yet, but he's really close as far as food and gold goes if he wants the fast castle.
Yeah, I think the archery range blacksmith play into, going for some amount of crossbows in the castle age, and again, just booming up defensively. I'm looking at Stark's base here between the two stones, just throw a town center there, and then maybe one next to his secondary gold or something. You can just get such a massive economy so quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to even see 4 TCs come out from him quickly.
Stark is certainly going to be safe behind these walls. MBL with a couple of scouts out, but that's his whole military. MBL doing more walling back at home, is grabbing Wheelbarrow himself, and we will see MBL click up at a decent moment. We'll also see him transition over to Stone. So that could be an interesting thing to keep an eye on, as MBL might want to drop an early castle and go Jannies in this situation. But I guess we'll see. Go ahead.
We haven't really talked a whole lot about this particular Civ matchup here, and it's I think a pretty interesting one because the Celts obviously they want to go for their infantry and siege, crossbows in the castle age obviously, but later on probably going to be halberdiers, woad raiders, and various siege workshop units. But the Janissaries are going to do pretty well against all of that Celtic infantry, hand cannons as well potentially, and then the thing is Celts don't actually really have a good answer to bombard cannons, and the Turks have some good bombard cannons I hear.
Yeah, this is a very good point. I like the analysis there. We definitely have to keep in mind that these Civ matchups are going to be dynamic all day long because it's a random Civ tournament. And I think you made a couple of good points. It's a little tricky to think about infantry versus Jannies. So MBL with an early castle can certainly get a lot of bang for his buck. A little bit of stonewalling coming as well for MBL, so he knows that Stark is going to be up sooner than he is. Stark is doing a little secondary walling, I guess, but it is archer production for our player in purple. Fletching on the way, Castle Age on the way. Stark will be ready for a TC, maybe 2, sometime early in the Castle Age, but he is focusing on getting some archers and getting a little bit of map control.
Yeah, this may be overly minor, but something that just I see MBL do all the time. If you check his scouting right now, it's so terrible. Something I think that all players should really do if they're going for scouts and not really able to do any damage with them. MBL knew he wasn't really going to do any damage to Stark. He is fully walled, and MBL wasn't going to commit to the feudal pressure. Just take the scouts, scout the rest of the map, see the good resource points, the sort of areas you're going to want to control as this game goes on. And because he didn't really scout, he kind of overwalled the south of his base where you only need one house. So he's kind of shortchanging himself in terms of room and resources.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm watching Castle Age tick in for MBL, and I just wanted to remind you that I'm at 17 minutes and 56 seconds.
Okay, I'm a minute ahead for some reason, so...
Yeah, it's probably my CPU. So I'll fast forward just a moment, and I'll try to catch you around 19 minutes.
18:45.
Okay, perfect. We're on schedule now. I'm just watching MBL's crossbows get closer Stark's crossbows get closer to MBL's base. Still no damage to be had yet, but Stark does have a couple of units prodding around the walls of MBL's base. Did Stark add another TC? I do see one coming up in the north, so a second town center coming for our player in purple.
Yep, everything kind of as you might expect. I'm sure once he gets enough wood, he'll throw down a third TC. But since he's already able to be on the stone with his second TC, I wouldn't even be surprised to see a fourth TC before a castle. It's what I do in that position, but I like to boom.
Yeah, we will see MBL dropping a castle in the east, or rather the west of his base, trying to hold the line on that side. We'll see. That castle looks like it will go down just fine. And then I guess we'll see Janissary production coming from MBL. MBL's 1 TC play is on 35 villagers. His opponent, St4rk, in the purple, who is the 7th seed in this tournament, has a 2nd TC and has a really, really good map. And should be really safe for a long time to come. A couple crossbowmen out around the map for purple, but we do have kind of a moment where this one is kind of, it's in a bit of a lull, right? Neither player can really do any damage right now.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to favor St4rk more and more, because when you go for the fast castle drop, you are knowing that you're sacrificing getting your TCs out quickly because you only have so much stone to work with, and if you're having all of these villagers gather stone, they're not gathering, wood for more TCs. So we're probably just going to see St4rk leap ahead in terms of the villager count, and not really going to see the Janissaries, I think, do a whole lot because there's already so many crossbows out for St4rk.
We shall see. MBL will try to bring his Jannies into range, or, well, just outside of the range of those crossbows. Put down a little bit of damage with the first couple Jannies out on the map. The green player is continuing to reinforce his hill. Just 3 military for MBL, 21 military for St4rk in the purple. So St4rk with a really nice military advantage. And notably, MBL with 1 TC, St4rk is on 2, and St4rk is probably going to afford a 3rd TC. There it comes right now. On the left wood line. So St4rk will be booming up very nicely, and MBL is going to have, he's going to have a lot of work to do here. I think he's a half step behind in this game.
Yeah, definitely. With the Siege Workshop coming in here for MBL, I actually think maybe a Fast Imperial is going to be on the table for him. One TC Fast Imp, maybe like try and push with Bombard Cannons and Janissaries. And I think that might be his best shot in this game. I think any hopes of him to... Actually, no, it's going to throw it on the 2nd TC, so this is a bit interesting.
Yeah, MBL is going to grab that 2nd TC, so it's not going to be an ultra quick up to Imp. He is building a couple Jannies, but not too many. For the moment, that is idle. Siege Workshop that has been built by MBL is also idle. St4rk's got a lot of units. He's got 20 total military. For now, he's still got a couple crossbows in the south trying to push through a house. They've been there a long time, but St4rk, I guess, is going to get in someday. It's just been a very slow, boomy sort of a match for both sides here.
Yeah, and like I said, that theoretically should be favoring St4rk quite a bit. Also, thank you for the sub, 4com, real quick. But yeah, I really don't see how MBL plans on getting any damage done here. It's kind of like he's going for this half aggression, half going for economy approach, and I feel like it's kind of like the worst of both worlds.
This is definitely one of those games where we are either going to see MBL lose or we're going to learn a little bit of something. At least I think you and I are on the same page. It feels like he's neither committing to aggression nor is he committing to eco. He's falling behind kind of in both categories, you could say. There is a little bit of an offensive now for MBL. Yeah, if this game goes for MBL, I'll certainly have learned something about how to win a game with Turks. For now, it is St4rk with a nice position. He's got 57 vills. That's a 9 villager advantage. Purple player is going back home. He should take advantage of his good map and hide behind his walls for a little bit. Does need to avoid a mango shot. That could help MBL a lot here. For now, St4rk gets out of dodge.
Yeah, definitely. And this castle forward from MBL is it's definitely not up yet. So that's just St4rk doing a really good job stalling this aggression from MBL. Just buying himself more and more time, which is all he needs at this point. It's just time.
Time is on my side if I'm playing as St4rk. I just hit the 26-minute, 55-second mark. Where are you at?
Oh, good gravy. I'm at 29 minutes.
Okay, all right. If you don't mind pausing, I'll catch up to you in a moment. Clearly, you got a better CPU than me. But yes, MBL is building a castle, and I'll let you know right when I hit 29 minutes. We'll synchronize watches. Again, sorry everybody for the weirdness of this cast. For some reason, we can't get this working today, watching a rec in the same game room, which would have solved all of these issues, I think. But hey, we're rolling with it. We got some great matches to watch, and we may see MBL just lurking around with that mango. Maybe a big shot coming in. I just hit 28, Ornlu. Sorry, Ben. I'm coming. I'm coming, man.
No worries. I think I was on fast forward for too long because I think actually your CPU is very likely better than mine. So I've just been on like 75 speed for a while. Just kind
Gotcha.
of overshot it, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm at 28:45, and I'll hit 29 minutes in 3, 2, 1, and go. And hopefully we're back synchronized. Again, sorry to people who are viewing. I know that's not super ideal to watch one of us pause or fast forward, but life hands you lemons. You got to make, I don't know, lemon soup out of it, right?
I like lemon soup. It's yummy.
Sounds awful. Doesn't it sound bad?
No, it's a legit like Greek soup. It's really good.
No kidding. Oh, I was just
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
be clever. Okay.
Nah, man. I got the soup facts.
Okay. Well, I
But,
knew there was a reason that we needed to have you in for this co-cast, your soup knowledge.
Of course. But it's gonna be 4 ranges here from Stark, which is pretty crazy because Celts have terrible archers as the game goes on. He has enough stone for a castle, but okay, yeah, there it goes, right in front of his TC. But why the 4 ranges? Maybe he's like really scared of these Janissaries killing him, like right now. But I feel like he has enough time to get his castle up, no problem.
It's an interesting play from Stark. He is picking off reinforcing Jannies, and he did kill a Scorpion that was working its way forward. There are still a few mangoes here from MBL, but once the castle is up, those mangonels don't have a lot left to do. They can push on the ranges on the right, I guess, or they can wheel their way around and try to push through some new walls. It's a really safe position still for Stark. The 4 ranges is, I think, quite interesting. I wouldn't have done it, but it may just work out for him. I do see the first knight or 2 on the map for MBL, which is interesting to see. But really, no great aggression from MBL yet. It's a slow push, right?
Yeah, and we saw here, MBL didn't actually scout the castle of Stark. He still doesn't know it's there, so kind of being a little slow to push there. And now, whoops, wrong POV. Actually, yeah, Stark has enough stone for almost another castle, and if Stark gets another castle, like, adjacent to his main gold, like by his 3rd TC, that will be Stark totally safe. There's no way MBL can really get any damage done at that point.
I thought you were going for Starktacular, and I was just about to jump out of my seat. That would be Starktacular.
Not that clever, I'm afraid.
So I am seeing Stark getting a castle up there on that side. I don't know if you see it as well. We might have gotten out of sync a tad, but
Yeah, I see it.
Stark's going for a castle in a nice position. That will slow MBL's push. Stark's on the way to Imp, and MBL's in trouble, man. MBL's in a lot of trouble, at least by my estimation. He's 20 villagers behind. He does not have an army that can really break into Stark's base and do damage. Stark's going to hit Imp soon. He's going to have a massive tech advantage. The only difficult thing for Stark is that, well, it would be super easy to go Woads, but Woads probably don't get you out of trouble here because of all the Jannies. So what do you think, Ornlu? What's Stark's plan going to be for his Imperial Age unit?
Well, as you see these double siege workshops forming a bit of a wall there for Stark, I actually think that siege is going to be his best friend as we get to the Imperial Age for Stark. I think both siege rams or onagers, like both of those choices, work just fine against the Janissaries, and then you just sort of mix in Woads to, be the cleanup crew or to just protect the siege in general.
Interesting. Yeah, we may just see that. MBL somehow wriggled his way into getting some damage on Stark. Didn't really foresee that coming, but MBL sneaks in just around the right-hand side of Stark's base and does deny a TC. 101 vils for purple, still has a lot of stone left to mine, a little bit of gold left to mine, a lot of gold left to mine. But Stark, for the moment, taking a little bit of a defensive and passive role in the game. A couple vils getting sniped by MBL, still 20 villagers behind at this point in the game. What do you think, man? What's on your mind as Stark hits Imp?
Well, Elite Skirmisher is going to be coming in for him, interestingly enough. Still don't see any real Imperial Age tech other than chemistry, which isn't going to do a whole lot. Kind of just questioning a lot of Stark's unit decisions this game. Now getting a Trebuchet, but that's not really what he needs right now. Okay, Capram makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, Stark has taken some damage here from MBL. We're getting closer and closer to, I don't know, MBL's getting closer and closer to the main part of this eco. 2 mangonels on top of the hill, firing away on Treb's town center, or Treb's town center, Stark's town center. Stark gets a few mangonels out on the map. We did see chemistry come in, or we will see chemistry come in a moment. Yeah, it's interesting to see Stark go for the elite skirms. He feels very threatened by MBL's push. I guess fair enough, but it is a bit of a strange transition. I suppose the 4 ranges make sense with elite skirms coming out. We still have not seen any Woad Raiders at all.
Yeah, I mean, looks like mangonels will work okay defensively. The problem for mangonels versus Janissaries is, of course, that the Janissaries, one, deal 10 damage to the mangonels, so they kill them in 5 hits, and then they outrange the mangonels by 1, perhaps even more importantly. So it looks like the skirmishers are just going to be the the cannon fodder, literally, to clean up all of these Janissaries eventually.
Yeah, Stark has kind of cordoned off MBL into the back of his eco. A couple of huge mangonel shots coming in for MBL, but once this army from MBL is dead, I don't think he can get back in very easily with another army, because Stark is building a new castle next to his original archery ranges. So Stark continues to fortify his position. That new castle will protect an extra gold pile off to the right. And once Stark cleans these Jannies, he can be quite okay. But we've been saying and thinking about that for a while. Still slow to clean up the Jannies in the back of his eco. MBL clicks Imp right now for me, Ornlu, at 3856, and we'll see him slowly work his way up.
Yeah, and I think that at this point, Stark can finally, take a breath, feel safe enough, I think, to make that Woad Raider transition. Celts have this really awkward period in the early Imperial Age that MBL did a good job of exploiting. The fact that you need to really make that transition from like archer units to just getting expensive Woad Raider techs, infantry techs, siege techs, it's just really expensive at a point in the game where you don't really have much army. So I think MBL did a really good job of like striking when Stark was the weakest, but now that that period is kind of past, and I think Stark should be able to stabilize here.
Yeah, Stark does seem to be stabilizing with his newest castle. He's going to be on equal villagers to MBL. MBL's still halfway up to Imp. Stark's got some vills off to the right of the map who may drop a TC or something soon, but for now, or a castle, I guess, on that side. But for now, they're just sitting there, and oh man, Ornlu, I'm at 40-45, and I see a group of Janissaries headed straight toward those vills.
Catching up just a little bit, but yeah, it looks like the Jannies are wandering right towards those villagers.
What is happening here? Stark, some people have an
play right there.
Some people have an exclamation point if their villager is idle. MBL is providing that exclamation point for Stark by running in with Jannies and taking all of these down. Just a moment where the game is very busy, and Stark, unfortunately, losing a couple vills on the side. It's not the end of the world, but an interesting moment.
Yeah, it's just kind of a weird decision for him. I mean, when you're above 110 villagers, losing 6 isn't really that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And it looks like, honestly, MBL's kind of suiciding the Janissaries anyway, so it's actually probably a plus for Stark in the long run.
Mm. Yeah, getting those Jannies off the map is just fine, right? More knights coming in from MBL. Interestingly, Cavalier and Forging on the way. We see 3 or 4, 5, 6 stables, I believe, for MBL to go along with a few siege workshops. So after a kind of a hot and heavy push with Jannies, it's going to be a transition into Cavalier. Do you like that transition?
No, I don't. We have Halb already coming in here for Stark. He wanted to get those infantry techs anyway, so he's just throwing down barracks. He's going to have a ton of halberdiers. He's already working away at these stables with his trebuchets, and I have no idea why MBL would go for this instead of hand cannons or something.
Yeah, MBL's going to have a couple of Jannies in the mix. Cavalier with plate barding armor. He's going to get good exchanges with Stark's elite skirms, so there is that for a plus side to things. But Stark is going to have a death ball soon, which is going to have Halbs in front of Trebs with some crossbows in the mix as well. And that could be a little uncomfortable for MBL to push against. It could be a lot uncomfortable to push against.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, pretty tricky for MBL to do anything. I mean, the Halberdier plus Siege push for the Celts is a classic, and I feel like you really need gunpowder of at least some kind to deal with it, whether it be bombard cannons or hand cannons or Jannies or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We do have some... Oh, nice bombard cannon shot. We do have some bombard cannons out for MBL now. We do have a castle coming down for him. So if he wants to go back into some Janny production, he'll at least have 2 castles. The Woad Raiders are starting to get out onto the map with a couple of upgrades for our player in purple, Stark. And Stark continues to play this one from a pretty nice position. He's got a 1k score lead. I think he I think that's accurate. I think he deserves that 1k score lead. Just can't afford to lose the Trebs. Has to keep his Halb number near the Trebs high enough to push MBL away. And it's a difficult position for MBL.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So long as Stark keeps these Trebs alive with his amazing Celtic Cav Archers, best Cav Archers in the game, hands down. Yeah, it's just keep pumping out Halberders, keep pumping out Woad Raiders, and I think Stark should be in a perfectly good position to take this game, just kind of grinding down MBL.
Yeah, man, he's grinding him down, that's for sure. Our player in purple did add another TC off to the right, and he does have a new safe wood line there. It still has some gold to mine. MBL has added a TC to the right of his base to take a little bit more gold. And MBL is actually roaming around with some Scorpions looking for potential raiding units. But for now, Stark is not planning on any raiding. He's planning on bludgeoning his opponent down in the dead center of the map. And maybe dead center is the right word, because if MBL loses the center, he's dead. This is over.
Yeah, this could be really rough for MBL. I just really have to question this cavalry choice. If all of those knights were hand cannoneers, I feel like this fight would look very different.
Yeah, MBL's going to dive in. Right now, he has the infantry separated a little bit. Actually, Stark is diving in against the cannons. MBL's diving in against the Trebs. MBL is going to take down all 5 of the Trebs, and Stark will kill only, I think, 1 of the cannons. So, wow, what an exchange for MBL. I'm at 4740, Ornlu. Where are you at?
Catching up is where I'm at. MBL making my day. MBL's getting artillery, giving those bombard cannons 2 extra range. I actually casted a game a while ago where MBL literally won a game based off of artillery. And so he is no stranger to this unique tech of the Turks. And yeah, these are going to be some pretty difficult to deal with bombard cannons.
Yeah, that was an incredibly good exchange for MBL. He snuck enough Janissaries out to defend his cannons that he got pretty good damage in on the Woads and Halbs from the player in purple, Stark. Stark, unfortunately, could not stop the Cavalier, and he lost all of his Trebs. Stark will go back home. He'll add a few more Trebs into the mix. But boy, this might be, I mean, the scores flipped after that fight, and this might be the moment that MBL is trying to seize to pull a win out of this.
Yeah, I mean, now he's even getting the Bombard Tower upgrade. I mean, Bombard Towers are going to be almost impossible for Stark to deal with unless he can just Treb them down. And I really have to question Stark again. Why no Siege Workshop units? I thought that either Siege Rams or Onagers would be, you know, excellent additions to his army, and he just doesn't have either.
Yeah, Stark was betting a lot on his ability to defend those Trebs, and I thought he was fine. I mean, up until like 3 seconds before that fight, I was thinking, oh man, Stark is totally fine here. I'm going to speed up a bit. I'll catch you at the end of the Bombard Tower upgrade, because I'm a little bit behind you. This is probably a good thing, because we're behind schedule. But now I just finished the Bombard Tower upgrade at 51 minutes and 10 seconds. Perfect.
Yeah.
So Stark does clean the Jannies. MBL is starting to take over a lot of map control. He is starting to drop down BBTs to defend the extra resources. Is there a road back for Stark anymore, Ornlu? I mean, it's not over yet, but he's in a dire spot here.
Yeah, I feel like this is honestly kind of a throw from Stark. There is a way back into this game, and that is Turks. Once the Turk player runs out of gold, they're pretty much dead in the water, so we're going to need to see Stark somehow manage to hold on with mostly trash units. He does have the gold to the west of the map, but it's already under fire from these BBTs, and MBL's not going to run out of gold for quite some time, and now he's even raiding with a ton of Hussars in the right of Stark's base.
Yeah, I think Stark did a great job early to take advantage of a good map. He definitely twisted the knife on MBL in a couple of awkward positions. But MBL grinding his way back into this game now has a nice little 1K score lead. Hussar rating in the top of the economy now from the purple player. Still plenty of villagers for both guys to keep the ecos rolling. But of course, the sphere of influence of our player in purple, Stark, is quite small. He owns about 1/8 of the map, and MBL seems to be at least owning or fighting for the rest of it. Certainly going to control the gold on the left with bombard towers. MBL controls the gold on the right with an army and a couple of towers. Stark doesn't have a lot of opportunities left to try to pull this game back.
Yeah, and despite the military counts being fairly similar, you have to really look at the quality of each player's armies, and Stark's army is just pure trash, essentially just halberdiers and skirmishers, and MBL has quite a few janissaries, quite a few bombard cannons, and then is just sort of using the hussars as a meat shield. And, you know, his KD just speaks for itself in terms of MBL just taking by far the better trades this game.
Yeah, MBL also with those bombard towers, which of course don't count against your populations. So, you know, there's a lot of good things going on for our player in green, who is spreading around hussars to do more raiding. Stark is not ready to call it quits yet. He still has a military of 49, so he's still got a lot of units on the map. He just needs some siege, I suppose, to go along with his trash, and that siege right now is coming in the form of a couple of trebs in the eastern part of the map.
I just realized Stark has 3k gold in the bank. Use it, man! He's just making, other than these trebs, just pure trash units, and just something that isn't trash would be so good for him.
Yeah, Stark might be in that mode of like, oh, I'm almost out of gold. Somehow in his mind, I know I get in that mode sometimes when I'm playing. I'm playing thrifty. Stark is playing really thrifty here, and he's in some trouble because his trebs are under fire. Hussar continuing to chase him around the map. There's a lot of trash in the middle for purple, but of course, 2.3k gold should be something that he can make something out of. The Onager upgrade is on the way, and what do you think about Onager in this situation?
I think it should be pretty good in this situation for Stark. I mean, he can even afford Führer Celtica, no problem, to get that extra HP on those guys. But again, it begs the question, why didn't you do this 15 minutes ago?
Yeah, Stark a little bit late to the table for our taste, but he's still grinding on this one. He's still 1k score behind. He is going to try to get a little bit more map control. Maybe this gold pile could help him a little bit for his economy later on. We've also got a couple skirmishers from Stark roaming around the map. They may do a little bit of damage as well. But MBL still has control of a lot of the extra golds, and if we start to look at gold miners, we will see that MBL, or rather that Stark has 0 gold miners, 0 stone miners. MBL on the other side of the map is going to have 11 gold miners and nobody on stone. So quite a big difference there. Also 3 relics for MBL.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say, Turks want every little bit of gold they can get, and having 3 relics is definitely going to be really nice for MBL. It means at least he's not going to be totally out of gold. But having control of that left side gold does ensure that he has at least a trickle of gold income right now to make some more BBTs or Janies or whatever.
Yeah, that trickle of gold it has been the difference maker in so many games that we've seen over the years. But, I mean, if we're being fair, I guess you could say that Stark has saved up a lot of gold under the mattress for a rainy day, and that rainy day is right now. So purple is going to add in elite woads, and he will be able to build a decent amount of woad raiders to go along with his trash army.
Yeah, but MBL already has some hand cannons. And, of course, Turk hand cannons having a bit of extra HP as well. It's going to be a little difficult for the Wood Raiders to at least do anything unless they're in pretty, sizable numbers, which I guess we're kind of getting there. Stark's doing a pretty good job of just slowing down MBL with these skirmishers and halberdiers.
Yeah, Stark's still trying to pull his way out of a situation that is not going so well, but there's always a chance here. Purple is up in the north, pushing down a couple of the bombard towers of MBL. MBL still mining gold on a couple of extra gold piles, which is a really nice bonus for him to have. He's also got a couple guys on stone. So life is pretty good for our player in green, but Stark might be able to get a key engagement and flip this game back over. I mean, you and I were both saying, like, oh, Stark's in a great spot, Stark's in a great spot. And then one huge and pivotal engagement really turned it around, so maybe he can do the same thing to MBL.
Yeah, and just checking the villager count, MBL has 140 villagers. That actually is a little too much, in my opinion. Can't really get to the army count you would want compared to Stark. Like, yes, his army is going to be more population efficient than Stark's, but still, only being able to make, like, what, 65 military, whatever, that's not going to be, I think, as much as you'd want. You'd probably want another 10, 15 units.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing MBL down now at 130. I'm at 1 hour, 1 minute, 20 seconds. But yeah, he was up at 140 a moment ago, and maybe deleted a few, maybe lost a few to some damage, but yeah, certainly needs to clear up some pop space. Stark is also at 130 pop. Both guys are around the 50 military mark, but so far, Stark has yet to totally break through MBL's towers on the left, so we will continue to see our player in green will try to hold that side. Actually, Stark is showing up with an army right now.
Yeah, Stark's come in with some of these cap rams. I do wish they were siege rams, but cap rams will probably still do the job reasonably well. And these infantry units can just dart in, snipe the bombard cannons, and then snipe the hussars or whatever. And now we can see some Woad Raiders trying to live up to their name and do some raiding in Woad.
Woad Raiders starting to get out on the map. Probably not going to be good to fight the army that MBL continues to push slowly but surely towards Stark's base, but they can be good to run around that army and do some raiding. For now, Stark is adding in more siege workshops. We haven't seen a ton of siege from him for the past few minutes, but maybe we will see the onagers that he teched into a little bit earlier. MBL continues to fire away with bombard towers, hand cannons, janissaries, and bombard cannons. Life is pretty good for MBL sitting in this choke point.
Yeah, I mean, he's just racking up all the kills. Almost a 2-to-1 kill death ratio for our green player at this point.
Tough spot for Stark, but he will get in and try to do some raiding. Both guys on similar military numbers. More Hussar raiding for MBL in the north.
Also, MBL throwing up some bombard towers defensively in his farming network, which I think is a pretty smart move, knowing that your opponent has Woad Raiders and is trying to use them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely a good point. Let's... Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, MBL now even tower rushing with bombard towers on the far west of the map. Stark's TC over there. And that's actually going to do really quite a lot to deny Stark some valuable wood income, because pretty much all of the safe wood lines for Stark have been used up at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Stark is starting to run low on that late game wood, which we all know is very important. MBL still controls a lot of the map, so he's probably quite fine on his wood lines. Both guys sending a trickle of troops to the right side of the map. There's been a constant grinding fight on that side. Neither player has really pushed in and totally broken that stalemate. Stark, though, is interested in pushing out on the left, sending rams and halbs over to MBL's base to try to clean up some of the bombard towers. There's a lot of bombard towers here. I don't know if Stark can do it with this army.
Maybe with siege rams he could, and siege engineers and Führer Celtica, but he has none of those 3 techs, and that's really a big problem for him, I think, in terms of just being able to break this line of bombard towers, as you said.
Yeah, the towers are, well, they're doing okay to deal with some of the halbs. It looks like the rams will get a few of them down, and we'll keep an eye on this on the side. MBL, for the most part, going into ring archer armor, has been focusing a little more than his opponent on trying to push into Stark's eco on the right side, taking down a couple buildings now with those bombard cannons from distance. Hussar starting to roll in, and all of a sudden, Stark's military is 26, MBL's military is 50.
Yeah, and Stark doesn't have any money. Totally blew through that gold bank he had earlier, and now he's just stuck making pure trash units. He has no relics. MBL has 4. So he's stuck using the market to get any sort of gold units at this point.
Yeah, Stark is in a little bit of trouble here. The score, I believe, is 1-1. This third game has been a long one. We're up above an hour now. We will play this as a best-of-5, guys, so that will mean that the next set of matches between Hera and Vinch will be delayed by a bit. But, you know, we can't tell you exactly how much, because I have been blinded to the results as well as Ornlu. Actually, we had to put acid in one of Ornlu's eyes. We had to actually blind him. That's
yeah,
part
it
of
happens.
That's part of the deal. You want a co-cast? I need an eye.
That's the sacrifices I make for you people. Also, thank you for the host, Jupy.
Guys, at this point, it's probably useful to say that if you put in exclamation point casters, you can see Ornlu's information, and you can check out his channel. I encourage you to open that up and give him a follow and some love. Yeah, check in on him. This guy is putting out good content. And thanks again for joining me today. We got a lot more to do here, but I mean, is there a chance for Stark to break out? It feels like he's in the death throes here.
Stark just is so far down in military at this point. He's down about 30, and he has no real way to get that number back up. He's just falling so far behind in just the military quality battle. Bombard towers now coming up every which way, and this may be approaching GG levels for Stark.
Yeah, we shall see if that's the case. I think it's certainly not going great for Stark. I mean, he can rest on the fact that MBL has nearly mined out all of the gold on the map now, but yeah, those couple relics will continue to trickle in a little bit of gold here and there. There's one gold pile left that I can see that's a viable one with maybe a little less than 1k gold in it. So MBL continues to send Hazar around the map to try to raid Stark as much as possible. Stark continues to try to grind him down with some trash. It is 66 to 33 on the military score, and we've got a big group of Hazar coming in from MBL. MBL's given up on that straight, Ornlu. He was pushing for a long time on that right side, and now he's just totally given up there, and he's transitioning to the left.
Well, that, I think, is because, his gold on the right side is pretty much mined out. That position isn't anywhere near as valuable, whereas the gold on the left side, like you were saying earlier, still has a little under 1,000 gold left, so it's a much more important position to maintain if you're MBL.
That's a very good point. I mean, at this point in the game, we can't really drop any more bombard towers or castles because MBL has spent all the stone, so why not take some map possession the good old-fashioned way with an army? MBL's coming in. He is actually really decimating Stark's numbers. Stark is down to 2320 total military, and MBL is just about to get into the woodlines now of Stark.
Yeah, and something that I think is actually pretty important is that Stark never got Blast Furnace. So his military units are significantly less valuable than they otherwise could have been, at this point in the game where, blacksmith upgrades are important, and yeah, the armor upgrades for infantry are more important than the attack upgrades, but Powder's just not really doing as much damage as they could, and all of MBL's units have been fully upgraded forever now.
Yeah, it's a good point there. At the end, Stark is missing Blast Furnace. I didn't notice that, and I don't know if you're at the end of the game, but I just reached the end. I just saw the GG, my friend. Stark giving the good game, MBL earning a really long grind-out victory. Some people here in the channel are saying it was a bit of a lost opportunity for Stark, which I think is fair to say, but honestly, could I have done better versus MBL? Absolutely not.
Easy.
I think what we'll do is just quickly go through the achievements, and if you're ready, we should jump into the fourth game and see if we can watch that match next.
Yep.
Cool.
Just load that up real quick.
Yeah, just showing people the achievements. Nothing crazy jumps out at you. Of course, the kill death was something you already pointed out a lot earlier in the match. So that's the big number that I think everybody wants to see. For the most part, the ecos, we did see the relics from MBL giving him 2k gold. But at the end of the day, it was the one big engagement from MBL that flipped the game into his possession, and he never let it go from that point forward.
Yep. That, I think, is just pretty much like you were saying, like more important, or the most important fight in the game by far, and Stark just lost 5 trebuchets. He lost all of his momentum, and couldn't really get it back. He was just always on the back foot at that point.
Yeah, man, it was one of those weird situations where you think like, okay, he's fine, he's doing fine, everything's okay, and then all of a sudden, oh god, here come the Cavalier, and I don't see any Halbs in sight. Things just went so downhill so quickly. What I'll do, guys, is I will load up the next rec. We will go into Game 4. I'll update the scoreboard, and I will meet Ornlu there in just a moment. Let's see. Everything looks good on my settings. Just need to change the score and give MBL another point.
I'm all loaded up in the next game, ready to go whenever you're ready.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks everybody for the support today. I think you'll understand that we don't have our alerts on, but I do appreciate everybody who's been following and throwing bits our way. We actually got a sub now from Flacatelli. Much appreciated. I appreciate the bits as well. T90 sent me here. Always great to see 1v1 tournaments, says none your business. Hey, thanks guys for that. We will rock and roll into the next game, which could be the last game, depending on whether Stark can get a win or not. It is a best of 5. I'm going to load the rec up now, and I will let my co-host here, Mr. Ornlu, I'll let you know as soon as I'm in the game.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And spoiler alert, it's an interesting matchup.
Ooh.
To say the least.
I think a better spoiler would be it's a super uninteresting matchup. This is going to be a horrible game. Okay, so I'm in. If you're ready to go, in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, it is a super interesting matchup. Let's first say this is the KillerB's Arabia Cup, MBL versus Stark. MBL with the he in the chat. This is Killer B. I'm joined by Ornlu. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been, like, last game was really interesting, and glad to be able to cast here with you.
Yeah, man, this has been a whole lot of fun so far today. I've had great co-casts, yourself included. We've had a really good time. And we're going to maybe see a really, really hard game for Stark. Stark used his veto earlier. MBL still has his veto. So if Stark wants to re-out of this game, which I think you might want to, Khmer versus Burmese, he's not going to be able to. MBL can stop him, and MBL already laughing in the chat. So you better, there you go. I'm at 1 minute 35, and MBL says, I veto, by the way. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The preemptive veto from MBL.
Yeah, I love it. MBL oozing confidence in this matchup, as I think he should. Burmese, they're a real good civ.
Yeah.
They're not. I think it's going to be really hard for the Khmer player to ever deal with a Rambai. And just Burmese having a better eco, they're a lot more aggressive. With their extra attack for their infantry in the feudal age. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a rough one for Stark to hold on.
Stark's got his work cut out for him, but there is a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. MBL's map, I'll introduce it, and then I'll throw it to you. You can tell me what you see on Stark's side. What I see on MBL's side is 3 vills on wood early. MBL has a back gold to work with, a back wood line to work with, berries off to the left side. If he wants to go for a castle in Arumbai, he will need to do a little work. His stone is not perfectly placed, but all in all, a quite good map for MBL to defend. Stark is saying, I've been in worse situations before. What do you see on Stark's side of the map, Ornlu?
Very open in the front of his base. Gold, not exactly forward, but it's still very far away from his TC and fairly exposed, I would say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just very open. He does have the gold in the far back of the map, which is pretty nice for him. And I guess he can kind of wall from like his the wood on the right side of his base to the edge of the map okay, and then from the wood that's past the gold to the edge of the map, but everything else is just so open. I feel like it's going to be pretty hard for Stark to hang on.
Stark's going to have his hands full. It looks like he will have 4 vills on wood early and might think about defending against some men-at-arms. MBL did add a couple more villagers to the wood line now, so we could still see a barracks and the men-at-arms play for our player in green. MBL attempted to push in a deer, but I don't think he ever got it in because of the awkward little pinch point by his gold. Stark, for now, still scouting around his side of the map. I think he has all of his sheep, but maybe he's looking around for some resource that I don't know what just yet. Maybe just figuring it all out. MBL's coming forward.
And, yeah, wait, what time are you at?
I'm at 5 minutes, 40 seconds.
20 seconds behind.
Okay.
But if he's going... Oh, with the scout. Okay, I thought you were like sending villagers for him.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Whoa!
He's coming with it. He's douched his TC. Yeah,
Whoa,
just coming.
That's a good way to throw, as MBL was saying in chat.
The old Burmese douche. Yeah.
Classic.
For now, just guys scouting around. Do you have any sense of what the Khmer player might try to go for here?
Well, we did see Kamura already in the series for MBL, and he went for scouts, and I think that will be the most likely, course of action for Stark as well. You don't really want to go for archers as Kamur because, as I say on stream all the time, Kamur don't get thumb ring, and it's really sad because otherwise they'd have fully upgraded heavy cav archers as a potential. But no thumb ring just means that your crossbows are really going to fall off in the Castle Age, especially with no sort of hope for Arbalest in the Imperial Age. And MBL going to be going up to the Feudal Age, 22 population. He already has that barracks. Likely probably to see some men-at-arm play from him. 2 villagers going to gold.
Yeah, we will probably see men-at-arms. Like you said, those 2 vills going out to gold. The barracks is up now. MBL's on 21 vills as he grabs Loom. 1 farm down from Mibble, and he does still have a couple of sheep to work with. Our player in green is probably going to play a pretty expected meta. Stark on the other side is the guy who has a little bit of work to do as far as trying to find a way to get around the OP Burmese. It's one of the highest, if not the highest, win percentage civs in the game right now. So, of course, you don't want to have Khmer versus Burmese. Stark's walling himself in, establishing a second wood line. He's going to go up with 22 villagers, and maybe he will go into scouts as he fleshes out his wood line in the south.
Yeah, everyone can press F to pay respects for Stark's scout. Running right into MBL's TC. Classic Ornlu maneuver right there.
I like that MBL dropped just the word pickle. That's all he needed to say.
All you need to say.
That is a bit of a pickle. Oh boy. Stark losing the scout. MBL's militia are coming forward. Stark did figure out what MBL was working with on this side. And he's gonna have an idea of what's going on, at least where the back gold is. But it's 2 games in this series, Stark has lost his scout. The last time he lost it early, he did lose. And maybe we'll have to cheer for Stark to get a win so we can get some more matches out of this. But so far, it's a tough position. A couple vills going over to gold for Stark. MBL hits the Feudal Age. And we've got 4 militia coming forward from green.
Yeah, once again, we see the 4 militia play from a player this series. Last time, I think it was Stark as the Vikings going for the 4 militia, which is, I think, slightly atypical. Usually we see the 3 militia, which is just lets you get a faster men-at-arm upgrade. But I guess, if both players go for men-at-arms, then the person with the, more infantry units will win that. So we'll see MBL come forward here with his +1 attack, soon to be men-at-arms.
Yeah, those men-at-arms are rolling in for MBL. Ooh, he actually canceled it. Okay. MBL canceling the men-at-arms upgrade, saving the resource. I guess he does not see a way to get in time. Double range is coming from Stark. MBL will drop down in archery range. Interesting decision to cancel the men-at-arms, but I think it's probably the right decision, don't you? I mean, Stark is full walled.
Yeah, thankfully for Stark, he does have that secondary gold at the back of his base. And with all the walls up here, it's not like MBL is really going to be able to find a way in. I actually would have liked to have seen MBL come forward with some towers. It's my favorite thing to do as Burmese is men-at-arms plus towers. It can be, I think, really difficult to stop. The extra attack for your men-at-arms means that if your opponent's going for scouts or men-at-arms of their own, they just can't really take the straight-up engagement. And since Stark doesn't really have any easy access to stone that's not, like, easily towerable, it's, I think it would have been a really smart move for MBL.
Yeah, maybe so. I think I agree with you. But for now, it's MBL trying to get in some damage with some men-at-arms while they're still on their feet. It's an archer and skirmisher mix for Stark, who's got 3 villagers on gold. He's going to be fine to deal with the men-at-arms, and he's going to be fine to deal with MBL's archer follow-up. So at least from an early game standpoint, I think Stark is totally fine in this position, despite losing his scout. I think he can be okay here.
Yeah, he should be fine. Right now, there's, about 300 resources of MBL that are essentially doing nothing. He spent quite a lot of resources early on to get these militia out, and they're really not doing a whole lot for him. He is, however, like a villager and a half ahead of Stark. Don't really know how, but is at least at a slight villager advantage, also milling his deer in the back of his base, knowing he has map control.
Yeah, MBL's taking advantage of a really good map. He's got a little cranny of the map, but it's a quite safe one. His militia can't do too much more, but at least for the moment, he's got Stark somewhat playing defensively inside of his base. we look at the resources, our purple player has spent everything he's got. And actually, MBL, on the one-range skirms with a blacksmith coming down, does have 250 food and 280 gold in the bank. So once these villagers on deer drop off another batch of food, you can kind of smell the beginnings of a Castle Age upgrade for MBL. It's not going to take him too much longer.
Yeah, and just by judging how MBL is positioning this wall off, I think he might send some villagers over to Stone for a castle, and then eventually are those very scary Arambai.
Yeah, that could be the case. I mean, I don't see any other way to get it done. Those two stones on the left have to be protected in some way because Stark is coming forward, and he does have a decent feudal army here. So maybe MBL will wall that side, like you said. Fletching is coming for MBL, though, so he's not just all in trying to get up to the next stage. He'll take a little resource to get fletching and padded archer armor and a few more skirms out. But I don't know. Stark's going to have trouble breaking this position, I think.
Yeah, both players are positioned pretty well defensively, and since the majority of both of these players' armies are skirmishers, it's going to be pretty difficult to get like a ton of villager snipes or anything like that. I think this will just go to the Castle Age.
So far, Stark has done some good things early in the game, certainly mitigating the aggression of MBL. Those couple militia didn't get anything done, so Stark so far has been quite okay. MBL has gone for one-range skirms, while Stark has gone for double-range archers and skirmishers mixed. And that basically is going to allow MBL to counter two ranges of production with just a single range. Stark on the way to wheelbarrow. MBL is getting close to clicking up. Maybe Stark will be able to click up somewhat soon as well. And yeah, I don't think we're going to see any major damage until Castle, like you said.
Again, I'm really confused as to how Stark got like 2 to 3 villagers behind MBL. I feel like there's no real reason he should have. I didn't think he lost any. But yeah, he's going to... You know, he still has wheelbarrow. He'll get up to the Castle Age, no problem. But we do see MBL going out to the stone right here, fortifying the position with a tower.
Yeah, MBL coming out to that stone, and as you said, dropping down the tower. I'll speed up just a moment because I think I'm a tad behind you, but I'm at 1905. How's that sound for you?
Just pause for a brief second, but yeah, we should be fine.
Cool. Stable coming down for MBL now. Maybe he wants to dice through some of those skirms, or maybe he just wants to do something with that in the Castle Age. Castle Age upgrade has been clicked for MBL at 1925. So he will be clicked up now. His opponent Stark is going to click up soon. Stark's got the wheelbarrow, and he has the farms that he needs to do it. But we'll see at least one more villager for the guy in purple. So no huge damage landed so far. Maybe MBL can pick a vill on this wood line on the left. But for the most part, Stark is 5 villagers behind for reasons that are kind of eluding both of us here.
Yeah, and he's going to be a fair bit slower to the Castle Age as well. May lose a villager to these skirmishers, but skirmishers do kind of fling wet noodles at villagers. But actually, looks like the villager may go down. Nope.
Yeah,
but
MBL...
Yeah, Stark...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Stark does have a stable. We'll be clicking up to the Castle Age fairly soon, and maybe we'll see some elephants.
Yeah, that could be the case. I was just thinking about the villager difference. Okay, so MBL doesn't have wheelbarrow, but he did click up a lot sooner. So I think there is still a natural, probably 3 vill difference here. Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see that stable that has now come up, which is populated by a couple of scouts. It would be nice to see that active in the mid-game. Skirmishers mostly for Stark now. And he basically just hasn't been able to do anything with archers, so a little transition might be afoot.
Yeah, definitely. And the KD is very nice here for MBL. He's definitely been taking the better engagement, since I don't really think MBL made any archers at all, and was just able to snipe the few archers that Stark has made, just sort of, taking the bit of advantage there.
Yeah, it's a good point. As MBL hits the Castle Age now, he will grab wheelbarrow. He will get a couple of knights out of one stable. Not really interested in trying to overwhelm Stark with aggression. He's already done a nice job with the skirms to take things down on Stark. And Stark writing in the chat, good thing you have a bad map so I can catch up.
Seriously. But yeah, it's going to be Town Center coming down first for MBL here, not going for the immediate castle drop, wanting to get his economy up and rolling.
Yeah, I think that's a fine move. We will see Stark getting bloodlines, and he will go for a knight right off the bat. So our player in purple is going elite skirmisher, and he's going for a little bit of knight play. 16 military are alive for Stark. I don't see them right now, but they're somewhere.
There's some random skirmishers chasing each other in the far east of the map.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be too impactful either way.
Okay. The rest of the skirms are inside of the TC.
Ah, there we go.
There we go. A couple of hidden skirmishers. Crouching Tiger, hidden skirmisher.
I was thinking the same thing.
Were you really?
Yeah, seriously.
All right.
Oh, man.
Well, what are the chances of that?
Yeah, seriously.
Elite Skirm upgrade is in. We do see a couple of knights and a couple of scouts from Stark. We don't see a second TC from Stark, but we do see a university. So Stark seems to be interested in being more aggressive right now than MBL. But right now, 22 military for each guy. MBL is getting a third TC and a castle up, and Stark's position is really souring. It's really going badly right now.
Yeah, I just am not a fan of this gameplay, or game plan rather, for Stark. I mean, he's not being particularly aggressive, but he's still stuck on the one town center. MBL's going to be up to 3 fairly soon. And then, once those Rambai start coming in, skirmishers aren't really going to cut it in most cases, because the Rambai just deal way too much damage.
Well, we're going to see, because this is Stark's big investment. This is going to be his big play. Bodkin Arrow coming. He's got a couple of knights to go along with this group, a couple of elite skirmishers as well. Stark still with 6 villagers on the back gold, so we could see more knights in the future. But for now, Purple is pushing out, and he's got to make something happen with this army, because, like you said, it's 3 TCs versus 1 TC, and of course, Arambai are going to be really hard for Stark to chase around.
MBL got Town Patrol. That's an interesting one. You don't normally see that upgrade come in, but man, these outposts have quite the line of sight on them. So he's going to see Stark coming a mile away.
MBL's got a really weird situation where he's still got some skirmishers just kind of patrolling around on the kind of no man's land on the map, and he's outposting that up as well. He's really keeping an eye on the edges of the map, I guess.
Yeah, and I think this actually isn't a particularly bad decision. He has the game advantage. He just thinks that, okay, if I just play safe, if I just, stay alive, I can take this game and then win the series.
Yeah, absolutely. Stark here is going to have to do something impressive to bring this game at home as a victory. I don't think Stark has really done anything wrong yet, other than getting the random generation of Khmer. But still, that's kind of the point of this tournament, is to put people in uncomfortable situations. Unfortunately, Stark is going to be the one who's in the uncomfortable spot right now. As MBL's Arambai start to roll out, he's got a Mangonel to go along with this and a couple of monks. Stark mostly has skirms now, and that may not really allow him to break through MBL's position. 60 vils for green, 52 vils for purple.
Yeah, again, I really have to question this sort of 2 TC, but not like crazy aggression, but not like booming a whole lot. It just feels like, not the best decision overall. And we may see some good Mangonel hits decide this game, one way or the other.
Yeah, maybe Stark can get in a couple of good mango shots and make something happen. He did add in a siege workshop on the front. I have not seen a mango from him yet. MBL is camping out near his castle, near his Arambai, with a couple of mangoes. MBL looks ready to push out, and I am at 29 minutes and 55 seconds.
As am I.
Perfect. We finally got it. We finally got it. It took us a few games, but we're now synchronized.
Just in potentially for the end of the series. Oh, but Knight's coming in here for Stark, going to be trying to snipe a mango, but monks are there for the conversions. What? Neither of the knights got converted, and yes, Stark lost both knights, but MBL lost a mangonel and a monk for it.
Yeah, Stark with a decent engagement there, but the Arambai are starting to roll forward now, and his other mango is getting sniped. We do have our green player MBL pushing out, trying to do damage. In the meantime, Stark has stuck a whole army off to the right of MBL's base. Do you see that army?
I do, and that's a lot of skirmishers, and, if you throw enough wet noodles at somebody, eventually they're going to kill some stuff. So that actually is, becoming enough skirmishers that it can really start to threaten those villagers.
Yeah, death by wiffle ball bat here from Stark skirmishers. It's the only issue for this is that MBL has secondary walled that side, so Stark is not getting in so quickly with the Knights. If MBL wants to respond to this, he can probably handle it quite okay with some reinforcements. The green player is not coming home to deal with that. He's leaving his Arambai on the front. A lot of those Arambai, though, are getting knocked down by elite skirms, so maybe a decent engagement for Stark as he kills 5 or 6 Arambai from MBL.
Yeah, Bloodlines just coming in here for MBL will really help these guys in the tankiness department, just kind of jumping up on top of these skirmishers. One, the skirmishers have minimum range, which you can potentially abuse, and two, Arambai are pretty much half blind and miss almost all their shots. But yeah, missing all these shots, and I really do think Stark is kind of taking a fairly cost-efficient engagement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been fairly cost-efficient for him. It's the age-old problem of I'm getting good trades, but my opponent has 20 more vills than me, so they don't really...
problem.
Well, it's a tale as old as time.
Exactly. Oh man, but yeah, it really is a big problem for Stark at this point. I mean, what are you going to do when you have the worst civilization and the worst economy? Like, he's going to need to make something happen, and these skirmishers, while getting a few kills onto MBL, haven't really gotten a whole lot done.
Yeah, these I see villagers coming forward from MBL. They're dropping a new castle. For now, that castle looks like it will go up. Stark is circling in from behind with elite skirms, but MBL's got a Mango, and we could see a good Mangonel shot here. Good split from Stark to start things off. Mangonel will get sniped, but MBL will get a really good shot on those skirms.
A little bit behind you for some reason, but yeah, it looks like this castle is going to go up for MBL, no problem. Big Mangonel shot, as you said, and with the villagers repairing, that actually is just a total disaster for Stark.
Yeah, absolutely. And MBL saying, F it, let's go Imp. He does click Imp at that moment, not bluffing at all, and Stark continues to have this position get worse and worse for him. At least for now, Stark has a little bit more military, but not a lot of damage potential. MBL's third castle is now going to come down a little bit closer to Stark's base. There's not a whole lot of good ways to get back in the game, but maybe Stark can find a way. I'm at 35-45, by the way.
Okay, I'm like 10 seconds behind.
Perfect. So if MBL were to win this game, it would close out the series, and that would give us a third player who's moving on to the live semifinal and third place match and grand final tomorrow. Those games are going to be 12 GMT onward, and they're open for anybody to watch, cast, stream, etc. And I think it should be a really exciting final day. We have seen a couple players punch their ticket. I'll talk to you guys after the game so that people watching the Rex won't get too spoiled. But for now, we have MBL trying to punch his ticket. He's 20 villagers ahead. His third castle is down. His Arambai numbers are decent, but he still needs a little bit more time once he hits Imp to maybe continue to flesh out this army.
Yeah, but because he has these forward castles here, he can just make a couple trebs, start whacking away at these town centers and archery ranges, and there's not really going to be a whole lot Stark can do to stop that. What are you going to do, run skirmishers under 2 castles with Mangonels there? Doesn't exactly seem like a winning move.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of good options here. MBL is going to take some damage on his Arambai, but he does get out an extremely well-timed Mangonel, which will chase Stark back a little bit. Castle for MBL back near his eco will go up. That will be the 4th castle down on the map. MBL is rolling forward pretty nicely. He's ready for the Imp upgrade, which I have just hitting now at 3805. We'll see 2 trebs popping out for Mr. MBL. He's got a bunch of, couple of mangoes here to basically guard those trebs. He's got a couple of Arambai who are probably on their way over. And MBL is going to look to finish this game right now.
Yeah, and like I was saying, what does Stark have to deal with these trebuchets? Not a whole lot, really. And he's kind of far away from the Imperial Age still. And I really like how MBL's sort of attempting to close this one out, just playing as safe as possible, not taking any unnecessary risks, and just trying to grind out his opponent.
Yeah, it's absolutely a grinding sort of a situation as MBL's trebs start to unpack. There will not be more trebs following this up. For now, it's 2 trebs for the player in green. He is building out Arambai, and he's still chasing around the skirmishers from Stark. Stark doing a good job to micro around a Mangonel for now. But MBL is basically disregarding this army of skirms and sending his Arambai forward. It's a honeypot army for MBL. It's basically, hey, I'm going to treb down your whole base, so you have to find a way to engage me. And probably a pretty confident moment for MBL since he's in the Imperial Age and has techs. Go ahead.
Did you see? I don't know if I'm a bit ahead of you, but there are some really disgusting Mangonel hits for MBL.
Yeah, absolutely. Some massive shots there, huh?
Yeah, I think Stark kind of realizes that he's pretty dead at this point. MBL getting guard tower and fortified wall because why not?
Yeah, the guard tower, fortified wall upgrades coming in. Stark with a little counter rating, but not too much to write home about. Those light caps should die to the TC here in just a moment. MBL with the Civ advantage, with the map advantage, and he's parlayed that advantage into a potential game-winning shot. Stark here is still trying to find a way to dig out of this. On the way to Imp, adding in another TC to the side. Purple has 100 Vils. It's just the military that continues to be a problem for him. Mostly elite skirms and not really much to do with it. And boy, do you see, Ornlu, the fortified walls on the right side of Stark's base?
Yeah, this is like some campaign level stuff with the fortified walls and the towers behind it. Real picturesque.
MB walling his opponent in so that Stark can't get out to these extra resource piles. Just a really good Civ advantage for MBL and a really cautious, pragmatic approach to this game. He's just slowly grinding Stark down. Stark may hit Imp soon if he continues to fight this out. But I guess we need to check which TC is giving the Imp upgrade. It's the one in the middle of his base. So it seems like that TC will survive. Stark will get to Imp, and maybe he can find a way back.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern for Stark this game, very similar to the last game, is that, well, his army quality is just so low with pretty much only trash units, and there really isn't a sort of good tech switch available to him to get a good quality army. Like, yeah, he's probably going to want, 25 elite battle elephants, but he doesn't exactly have the infrastructure for that at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's a Khmer versus Burmese problem. I can't really see too many things in this game that I would say, like, oh, I wish Stark had done that differently. It's just, he's just been continuously having a terrible matchup. MBL doing all the things that he needs to do correctly. Arambai getting closer to the economy of Stark. Stark starting to lose a couple Vils. Trebs have done a nice job to kill a TC up on the western part of the map. And for now, MBL is starting to ram Stark back into his own economy. And Stark probably doesn't really have any gold to mine. I don't see any gold left for Stark to take.
No, not once he loses his main gold. And yeah, this is very quickly approaching GG level overness. Keep now coming in, and yeah, that's going to be the GG.
So the GG comes in, and MBL punches his ticket to the live semifinal tomorrow. What are your thoughts on this game, Ornlu? What are your thoughts on this series, I should say? I think this game is probably a pretty obvious Civ win and a nice game from MBL. But if you had to sum up the series, what would you say in closing?
I really think that the Khmer losses for both players. I mean, what can you do? It's Khmer. But as far as what sort of gave MBL the win, I think in the other games in particular, is that his sort of army comp decisions and where he chose to take his engagements and sort of send his units as the game went on. I think that was just better decision making than Stark. MBL's unit choices made a lot more sense. His engagements made a lot more sense, I feel, and that is, I think, eventually what gave him the W.
Yeah, I think Stark gave it a good fight, but of course, MBL is he's the second seed in this tournament for a reason. Very, very good match from MBL. This fortified walling at the end of the game, I think, is extremely clever. You have to consider that that's not a huge investment to keep your opponent from ever getting any more gold. So kind of a clever little play from MBL there to finish things off. Kind of stamping this one with an exclamation point. So congratulations to MBL. I'm ready to jump out of this game, my friend, and I'm ready to say thanks very much to you for coming. and joining me to cast these ones. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing how the rest of this tournament pans out.
Yeah, man. Hopefully you get a chance to stream some of the games tomorrow too. Is that possible for you? Like, are you gonna launch your channel?
I don't think I can stream the games tomorrow, but I think I'll definitely be able to watch some of the matches as a spectator. But
Cool.
yeah, no, I got a lot of fun games, and yeah, thank you so much for letting me come on the cast with you.
Dude, that was fun. That was a really fun set of games. We got to do this again. We got to do this
definitely.
again soon. Okay, guys. Well, I will say thanks again to Ornlu. I will put his link in the channel, which you can open up and give a follow to now. If you want to do me a little favor, you can give some love to our cocaster. Thanks again, man. Yep. See you later. What I'll do.